So we are super excited to be jamming with you for our like the beginning, the birthing of this new beautiful project that's about bringing in insightful, influential people who are heart-driven and vulnerable and powerful all at the same time, who have beautiful gifts to share with the world. And you were the very first one that came to me like, girl, we're gonna be first. Like, this is gonna be it, and it's gonna start. And I've been really inspired by watching not just what you've built, because it's impressive and it's important for women to see what's possible, but who you have become. And in the short time that we've known each other, and I'm not even on it, like I'm not even on Instagram very much, but the few times that I popped on, I just saw this beautiful vulnerability in the way that you were speaking with your tribe. It was about revealing a relationship professionally that had gone bad and how painful and hard that was for you. To then share with your people, like, I'm sorry, I'm now removing myself from this and going in a different direction. And my heart just like went out to you. And at the same time, in your vulnerability, there was so much respect there. And I was like, this is conscious business. It's conscious leadership, that your strength is showing up in your vulnerability, which is something that like, I never grew up with anyone being vulnerable. I never had an example of that. So for you as like a peer and a woman in our, just in this era, being willing to show up like that in leadership was really beautiful to me. And and that's what sort of sparked like my desire to have our connection. And then watching you go through your spiritual changes, which I think is really a lot of the juice of probably what we'll be chatting about today, and how you have been willing to morph and to grow, and done it in such love of what was and what could be, and how you're open to exploring while being deeply reverent to what you've already built inside of you and that connection to the divine. And maybe the words are changing or whatever. And we just, there's so much synchronicity in that path that we've gone through, both personally in the change, but then also how do you navigate doing that publicly when you have a tribe who follows you based upon that belief system. So those are kind of like two of the big things that have always like called to me when I think about the amazingness of Emily. And I was just so excited to have that conversation about these things so that others could benefit from hearing how you do life. Because that's what's so beautiful about you. Not only this gorgeous external, but like how you do fucking life. Yeah. Right? It's amazing.
And I'm just sitting over here. All I can say is you guys have been doing these WhatsApp voice messages back and forth and back and forth. And I just get all the overflow of it, of how excited she is about like, oh my gosh, like Emily and I are going to be best friends. And like, we're just so much in common. And you guys do. You have so much, such a similar path, And so.
Wow. Well, first, if I may.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel so incredibly deeply seen for the things that matter. And that's wild. Most people want to start with my accolades, my accomplishments, and you wanted to start with my character.
Yeah.
And that just means the world to me. So thank you so much. And I've just absolutely loved getting to know you deeper and connect with you deeper. I'm so thankful that we got connected initially, and that I have both of you, but also that you introduced me to your wonderful wife, who I love so much. And it's really nice to have people that you can resonate with on so many different levels, conscious leadership and spirituality and being a heart-centered, person and business owner in this world. And the fact that a moment of vulnerability is what connected us, I think is very powerful. And it's really speaking to me even in this moment. I'm sure we'll get into a lot today, but I'm really seeking to lead from such an authentic place that I'm not scared to show the vulnerability, even when I'm in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate this space so much. I'm so honored to be here for the first time and can't wait to dig into everything.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I feel like I felt seen by you and you felt seen by me at the beginning. And it's a rare treat. Like you said, to not be meeting each other from the place of accolade. We're so taught to lead with our resume, resume first, and
totally.
I could give the list of all of the things that were so amazing. And I don't know how to do that on a podcast because honestly, I'm brand new at doing this. So I don't have a bio to read in front of me because you've built an incredible social media tribe and community. You were a very successful fitness industry icon, and that's what launched this, right? And now you have this incredible following. but you're right. That isn't, I mean, that's impressive. And it has been a launch pad for you to make an impact in the world, which is important, but it's your character and the way that you're really navigating the real stuff in life that matters. And maybe we'll put your list of like your bio up on the screen.
I don't need it. I don't know.
If
Before this, I even
wanna
thought
do
to
that.
myself, if they ask me to intro myself, I'm going to do it different than I've ever done it.
Really? What would you have said?
Yeah, have you
What
prepared?
would you have said?
I didn't prepare, but I just had an idea in my head of how I was going to share it. So what I
wanna
would
hear
have
it.
shared was, rather than telling you all the accolades and accomplishments I made, this and that and that, I just wanted to say that I am a spiritual being that chose to come here on earth to have this human experience. I chose the experiences that I was going to have, the family that I was going to have, the hardships and the vulnerabilities and all the moments that I have felt were going to take me out of this life. I actually signed up for it ahead of time. And currently I am that human going through the human experience, having to remind myself so deeply that I chose every part of this, and that all the things that feel that they're going to break me are literally here to rebuild me into the most authentic version of who I came here to be. And I'm a soul that has a big heart, that came here to be a heart-centered leader in this world, to come and to build up other people and leaders, and to show them the way, to show them a different way of life, one that leads them to healing, to love, away from fear, away from the unconscious way of living that leads to suffering, and into a conscious way of living, an intentional way of life that is heart-centered and produces more love in their own hearts, in their own families, in their own businesses, and overall raises the frequency of the planet. So that's who I am, and that's why I came here. And it's not easy, and it's not rainbows, and it's not this thing that's, and a pretty little gift wrap. Actually, in the moment, it doesn't feel that way at all. In the moment, I'm going through quite a bit. So it feels quite the opposite, but I know and I remember that much. So in the midst of going through challenges and, things that I wish I could just press the easy button and get out of, I'm reminded this is a part of it too. And that none of this is failure. It's all lessons learned. So I'm learning a lot right now.
How do you balance spiritually, energetically, that balance of being a public facing figure, creating content, putting on the face, so to speak, and then dealing with all the things that are going on behind the scenes?
Well, if you look at my social media, I haven't been posting much.
Okay.
So the truth is, I'm not always in balance. I feel that for a large part of my life, I was, and no matter what, I was showing up, I was doing the podcast, I was doing the content. And if you look at my content, I've been very non-consistent this year. And a lot of that has been for many different reasons. One, I just really felt burnt out and I needed a bit of a break. I went through a lot of hardships and losses and deaths this year. And even, in my entrepreneurial journey, just going through a lot of hardships and that. And so I've had to take time off. And so, the answer is I'm not really balanced in it at the current moment. But what I do try to do is when I do show up, I just make sure that I'm intentional about the way that I show up. So that's why when you see, wow, you're so vulnerable and open and authentic with your people, it's because I'm showing up when it feels like I have something to share.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But you're also not still bleeding, which there's a fine line of that also, right? That there's some people that show up so vulnerably all the time. And even, they say, don't talk about the issue while you're still bleeding from it. And so as you're using discernment to maybe pull back a little bit, heal the wounds a little so you're not bleeding all over your audience.
Exactly.
There's that discernment piece too, which I appreciate about you.
Absolutely. I'm really conscious about the energy that I'm bringing to the space. So if I know that I'm in a low vibrational state because of the things that I'm going through, there is a fine line of, sometimes you want to get on and share it and show your human side so that people see that you're human. But like you said, it's that discernment of I can't be bringing that energy into the space every single day. That's not the energy that I want to transmute to other people.
Yeah.
So I do my own inner work to get in a high vibrational state. Even if it's, one day I'm having a bad day and the next day I'm feeling good, that's when I'm going to show up and I'm going to bring that energy, because kind of like a bank account, that's the deposit that I want to make in this world, is a positive addition to the world, So I really do try to find that fine balance of being authentic, showing that I'm human, but also, like you said, like really owning my own energy and making sure that I show up in a place where I'm adding to people's life, consciousness, love, and not bringing it down or making it something harder.
Right. Do you have favorite practices like that you could share about a couple, either regular or when you're feeling the vibrationally really low or stuck or sad or like just in the lifeiness of life? What tactical things do you do?
Yeah. So the first part for me is self-awareness and knowing my own patterns. So for example, when I'm going through something, typically it arises as this like underlying anxiety. And then I get into busyness. And then I get into like, I need to be moving and doing. And that's like the unconscious pattern. And so now that I recognize it, I can see that it's happening. And once I see that it's happening, like even last week, I was doing things. I took the dogs on a walk. I took them on a walk. I said, okay, I need to grab my laptop, go to the coffee shop. I'm going to do all these things. And I was like, hold on. This is like...
Are you guys related? Like, what's going on right now?
We're
Holy
even drinking exactly the same green tea
cheers.
latte. Cheers, love. Yeah, we're like sisters from another mother.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to hide under the busyness, to hide the emotional.
100%, even from yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's really powerful when you recognize, oh, there's something happening internally. And now this is my opportunity to stop, pause, and look at what's there. So during that example of last week, instead of going to the coffee shop, I said, hold on. And I noticed my breathing was shallow. I noticed I felt that little anxious energy. And I was like, okay, let me sit with this. So I literally just sat down at my little meditation table. I have like a little incense. I have my comfy little blanket. So it's like all these little things. I put on meditation music. And then I just start taking deep breaths. The breath is my favorite tool because it's free. It's always with you. It's automatic. You don't have to think about doing it, but you can also control it and you can get different effects based on the way that you're controlling your breath. So for me, what it looked like in that moment was just, hand on my heart, one on my lower belly, just breathing into my body and really taking some moments to be present. And once I did that, a flood of emotion came.
Yeah.
And I was able to really sit with what was happening under the surface. The stresses, the things in life that I was trying to solve by doing, right? Let me do the next business thing. Let me do the next action. Yeah. But we don't get in life what we do. We get in life what we are. So the beingness is so important.
That's so good.
And that's why I knew that I have to take care of my own beingness. And that's why also I don't want to show up to a client call, to social media in a highly anxious state that's just trying to do. That's not an embodied, powerful, loving place. I'm very conscious of that. So for me, it's more important to not do the to-do list. Instead, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit with myself, let the emotion come, journal out what I need to journal out. And then at the end of it, I always like to close that container so it doesn't like bleed into the day. So I close the container by affirming what I know to be true. I have certain foundational truths in my life that really guide me, especially in the moments that are hard. One of those foundational truths is that everything is always happening for me. Literally nothing is happening against me.
Yep.
The world's not conspiring against me. There's not some person with horns out there that's like gonna get me.
I love that.
Everything in life is happening for me. So when I know that, now I have the opportunity to ask, what is this teaching me? What is this for? And how can I learn from what I'm going through? And sometimes you can get the lesson right away, and other times you just gotta let it suck, and you gotta be in the human experience, and you gotta let yourself feel it.
That's so beautiful. That's one of the greatest keys to actually, the irony is that that's the greatest key to manifesting anything and everything is by absolutely sitting in the being of it instead of the doing of it. And it feels so counterproductive. But everything that we've ever brought out, like anything that has ever happened has just been in those moments of like, oh, I'm not going to push this. I'm going to change the vibration within me. I'm going to go back to love. I'm going to allow the emotions to go through like exactly the process. And then in that more often than not, then we're actually setting all of the parts and pieces that are conspiring for us to drop down into our space. Not that we can sit and do that all day long, every day.
No.
But
yeah, that's why we open the container and we close it.
And close it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Have your moment, and then you got to get on with life.
Right.
So
powerful.
I love that. Like, I use that all the time. I think everything's happening for me, right? Not to me. And that's kind of how I phrase it in my mind. And last night we were in a group, we were just at a retreat, and, I was doing some coaching with guys, and that was exactly like their biggest hang up, is kind of coming at it from that, like kind of not victimhood, but why is it always going this way to me? Like, why does this happen to me? Instead of seeing the gift and the opportunity in it, and if you can get to the place, I think if you can get to the place where you really truly feel that, right? Like, cause we can say it, but you actually got to believe what you say. It's not what we say, it's what we feel when we say what we say, right? We live in this world right now of NLP and NEPQ and all these like neural programming techniques to like tell ourselves what we need to hear and use these phrases to weaponize people's thoughts and emotions against them, to buy things and do all this stuff. And I feel like people have been trained to say the right thing, and everybody knows what we need to think and what we need to say, but we're not being taught, and there's not enough people out there. That's why we love you so much, is like there's not enough people out there really sitting into the feeling of all those thoughts and just practicing and trying to actually get to that space, because that's the work. We can all learn to say everything.
Yeah.
We can all learn to try to like convince ourselves. And it's that whole fake it till you make it mindset. If I just get on stage and if I just say these things, I say the right things, eventually I'll embody it and whatever. It's like, maybe, but there's more than just saying it. There's a lot of work to do behind the scenes to actually, you got to believe yourself. If you don't believe yourself, nothing else matters.
100%. And like you said, it's one thing to talk about on a podcast, but it's really, what are you doing in the privacy of your own home?
Yeah.
And how do you respond to your own life? And how do you respond when you do recognize your unconscious patterns that are arising? And also knowing that nobody's perfect. You know, it's not like you learn this and all of a sudden you're just perfect and don't go into an unconscious pattern or state. No, it's like a constant rewiring, a constant. And I found too that there's deepening levels and layers
For sure.
to every lesson.
Well, it's so deep. Like, I didn't think we were going to go here in the first episode, but
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
So
I'm here for
we were
this.
talking with a group. You know, we were at this retreat and we were talking to this like amazing group of spirit-led entrepreneurs, just an amazing organization, the Abundance Retreat, like just amazing people. But we were talking to them, and it came up, this whole, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I had to use our story and our example of how I embody this in my own life, and where it takes actual faith and trust, and where you have to feel it to believe it, to get through it. And when you do, you can literally overcome like anything. Like last year we were going through some stuff, like 18 months ago, 20 months ago.
This part of the story. We're going here on the first episode.
The first episode.
Here. Send it.
Here we go.
Great.
Full send. Let's go.
Where's the popcorn?
So we were going through challenges in our marriage, just things that happen. We don't need to get into all the details. That'll be on future episodes, I'm sure. But there were things like we ended up separating for a short period of time. And without giving all the details, like, she wanted space, she was struggling and she was having challenges, and I had to like reconcile that. And based on our previous history, it was very easy for me to kind of fall into that, why is this happening to me again, right? And it would have been and I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't perfect and I didn't have moments of that, but I was able to get to the place where I got to the place where it's like, all right, what's my role in this? Because nothing happens in a vacuum, right? Like she didn't get there on her own. We've been partners for 21 years and married forever, you know, and so it didn't happen on its own. So what was my role in it? What do I need to do? Who do I need to become? Because there's obviously a gap. And so I think always looking at your own side of the street and looking at these challenges as an opportunity to look at yourself and look at where, you know, because the life you have is the life you have because of who you are and how you show up in the world.
So good.
And now I look at it, and in the past year and a half, our life has been just amazing, and it's gone like a rocket ship, you know?
Wow.
And it would have been easy for that moment to judge and ridicule and all these things about what was going on. And now I look, and I'm so just blessed and grateful that I handled it the way that I did, that I looked at it the way, and that I, that I was able to process it the way that I did, because I look at it now. And, you know, we did an ayahuasca ceremony, like we did, you know, plant medicine's been a big part of my journey of growth over the past 2 years almost, right? And I never would have done plant medicine. A lot of people are like, why is your business growing so much? It's like, well, I had this ayahuasca ceremony that I gained so much clarity in. That ayahuasca ceremony only happened because of what happened with her. And so now I can directly correlate when in the moment we feel, oh, why is this happening to me again? Like, and kind of feel victim, because we're human. We have emotion. It's right. You feel those things, but you gotta get still. You gotta get in your heart, get on your meditation thing, right? Like get the good vibes going and just like breathe and talk to yourself about, all right, what am I supposed to be learning through this? Like what is the universe trying to teach me? How, like, I just believe the universe or God or whatever you want, like, wants more for us, and we even have a clue. We can't even contextualize what it wants for us, right? And so if you believe that, and you believe everything's happening for you, not to you, well, then what the hell do you ever have to worry about? Like, at the end of the day, right?
So
like,
good.
That's it. And so now I can literally go back to what I would consider probably one of the worst 3-month periods of my life just 2 years ago. And I can directly correlate that, even though that had nothing to do with my business and it was completely disconnected, the chain of events that rolled out led to my business literally 10xing in a year.
Wow. That's
And now I look back at that, and now I don't have to just find forgiveness, and I look at that to her, and I look at it with gratitude.
And that's really doing the work.
And
that's like the radical accountability. When these things happen, and you're sharing and doing it, and Chris is insanely world class at doing this, is what's my part in this?
100%.
What's my part in this? Instead of blaming it on them, or like the business partnership fails, or the romantic partnership has issues, like somebody screwed me, somebody cut me off, somebody ran into me, like, okay, and what they could be held to a level of accountability. And most importantly, the only thing I'm in control of is what's my part. And one of my favorite expressions in it is, I don't want to just go through it, I want to grow through it. So as in each of these difficult situations, it was like, what's my part? And not from a place of shame anymore, not from a place of judgment of myself, and you're bad and you're wrong and you screw up and you suck. Like, why do you keep making mistakes? Which, like, that, and I feel that in me, like, even saying it, but that was my entire history. Like, that's my natural way of my brain talking to me. And so instead, it's so nice to be like, what's my part in it? Because I'm growing through this, and giving ourselves the grace to make those mistakes and to know that it is for our greatest good, But I love that you said it's a foundational truth. I felt it in my bones when you said that. It's not just some mantra like you're spitting out. Like, and when that is a core belief, then you're acting from a place of knowing that it's going to truly not just be good, but it's going to be great. Like, it is conspiring to serve you, any of the shit that you're sitting in,
Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing that. I think it's so beautiful that you're able to share something so vulnerable. And I have not met one single partnership that has lasted multiple years, let alone 21 years, that at some point didn't have a similar story. So I think the more that people are able to share it, the more helpful it is for the people that are in partnership with people that they love and are experiencing something like that, because I think it's just the reality. And I think it's also beautiful how you said now you have gratitude looking at it, because I think that our most intimate partnerships are such mirrors for us.
Oh, totally.
So it's just wild to see you guys come out on the other end of it and say, wow. I mean, I just imagine, had you guys thrown in the towel and just been like, well, this is just not for us anymore, you'd be at such a different place.
Totally.
So it's really just cool to see you guys navigate through that and share that. And yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The foundational truths, they really matter, because in those difficult moments, for me, what they do is they shape how I show up. So another foundational truth, like what we're saying, is that I'm a co-creator in all of my experiences. And similar to you, the hardest time in my life is what shaped basically all these foundational truths and who I am now.
Yeah.
And I realized that I got into a bit of a victim type of mentality as a result of being in an abusive relationship that really tore me down to nothing. And I remember this therapist saying, you don't see your part in this. I said, what do you mean? all I'm doing is like trying to create peace and love. And I never yell back. I never, because you don't see your part. And I said, I don't. Please tell me. Like, I won't be offended. I want to know.
Right,
I want
yeah.
solutions. I'm like not offendable. I love the truth more than anything.
Sure.
That's awesome.
And he goes, you're choosing to stay. As long as you choose to stay, you will continue to perpetuate your pain and his. But if you choose to leave, it'll hurt initially, but the pain will stop for both of you.
And you'll take your power back.
And I'll take my power back. And that's the thing, is I had given my power away, and I did that not once, I did that twice. I like to learn lessons twice at least.
Yeah. Well, I like to learn them by getting hit by a fucking Mack truck. So, you learn them repetitively. I learn them with massive, crazy, big
Interesting.
upsets.
Yeah.
I don't just learn like a subtle. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to bullshit.
Yeah,
here.
no,
Like,
and
it
I've
is what
learned,
it is.
I've learned that that's literally my life contract. Like, I came into this life to screw up in big ways, and I finally have made peace with it in the crazy. And I'm sorry. It's really cringy for Chris to have partnered with me for so long.
Are you kidding?
Not at all. I'm the most blessed and fortunate.
Yeah, we're going to X that out.
Yeah, we're
Well,
gonna.
I didn't think it, but
guys,
like when I blow stuff up, I blow stuff up big. You know what I mean? Like, there's no subtle stuff.
But you didn't blow things up. So we were talking about, you didn't blow things up. What happened was you went through a process that was supposed to happen. And it felt like there was the potential of blowing things up, but it was just God putting us in a position of growth. And we both become different people through the process. And
Right.
like, that's it. You are a different person now than you were then. And that's why, a lot of people would say, well, how do you trust? I fully trust. I trust her more now than I ever have,
Wow.
because she's not the same person she was,
Because I've grown through it.
because we've grown through it.
I don't necessarily know that that's true for me in this moment either, but I'm going to hold that.
It's absolutely
I'm
true.
growing into it.
It's
I'm living
absolutely
into
true.
it. I'm growing into
I
it.
can see that
absolutely
even
true.
just from the
Yeah.
first dinner that we had to
Yeah.
our conversations.
Totally.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so wild.
100%.
How we don't see each other.
Don't worry,
Or
I'll
we
get-
don't see ourselves in the same way that we see each other. Right.
true.
And that's
Yeah.
why we need like these connections with real tribe.
Well, just
to
a
reflect to
reminder,
each other.
just a reminder, you can't see anything that you don't possess within. So anything that you see within me or someone else at that event that you respect, you have that within you. It's literally just a reflection of you. You wouldn't be able to see it if you didn't have it.
If you didn't have it. That's awesome.
Can I say something?
Yeah, but I
So-
wanted to hear more of her foundational truths.
Oh, you got more. No, you got
this is the
more.
thing.
How many
No.
foundational truths?
How many do we have?
Oh, I have a whole Instagram post on it. There's like 20 that are
Oh, that's amazing.
But go ahead. I want to hear what you have
Well,
to say.
so I'm thinking here because I want to pivot the conversation just
Yeah,
a little
please.
bit. Okay. So one of the things that I struggled with in my journey the past 2 years, because I'm a wildly different person than I was when you and I first met. And it's interesting.
There were no tattoos back then. Let's just start there.
Oh.
There were no tattoos, and there had never been a medicine/drug put in his body ever.
ever.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd never smoked pot. If I drank, I just drank a little bit.
Never
I
a
never did any plant
psychedelic.
medicine.
Never a cigarette. Like
Kind of felt like I
nothing.
had the world by the balls. I was
Yeah.
doing well, but like I didn't realize how unfulfilled I was internally. And I didn't realize how much I was doing, like, because I have a big heart of service. I didn't realize how much I was just doing things for other people. And it was just, I was happy with what I was doing, but not fulfilled. Right. And in this growth process, where I really connect with you on is like, well, you guys are going through very similar stuff, but you and I are also going through very similar stuff because we both have brands. Your brand's a little bigger than mine, different platforms, whatever. But we both came from kind of like the conservative space, right? And we've both kind of grown in ways that are not necessarily in alignment. And I would argue that a lot of our values and principles are still absolutely aligned,
100%.
but interpretation of how we see the world now might not be in alignment with a lot of the people that were following us before,
So good.
right? And so when I went through this process, I had a ton of fear and anxiety. And she'll tell you, I don't get fear and anxiety about anything. And it was the first time in my life making this transition, like, do I want to come out and be public? Do I want to be bold? That's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast. So we can
Wow.
have a platform, so we can, like, a big part of my role in this, wanting to do this podcast and be part of it with her. A, it's cool to do something with my wife, you know, but B, it's a way for me to express myself in ways that I don't have the ability to. And
Beautiful.
that's, you know, so it's selfish, but it's great. But what was your process, you know, like, and what is it now? Because I know you're probably still like navigating it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you get a lot of positive reinforcement. You get a lot of negative feedback. You probably have a lot of internal work that you're having to do on a regular basis around it all. Can you kind of share a little bit what that transition has been like for you, and like kind of the good, the bad, the ugly? Because I think a lot of people are in this transitional shifting from religion to spirituality and connection rather than, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for opening up this conversation.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'll say is that I'm just a soul who's on her journey, who's figuring things out day by day.
Yeah.
I won't sit here and tell you that I have anything figured out.
Of course.
But I will share a little bit about my experience and what the evolution of my spirituality has looked like.
I love it.
So if it helps, take it. And if it doesn't, leave it in the trash.
Yes.
I grew up in a very religious household,
Yeah.
Christian, and that was my entire life. I always went to church. I went to Bible school. I was in small groups, the whole thing. And I've always, since a young age, had a really beautiful relationship with God. Like, it wasn't just religion for me.
Yeah.
Like, ever since I was a little girl, I remember just loving God and believing in God. And, you know, in high school, like, just crying in praise and worship, like, really feeling that connection. So I've always had a really beautiful relationship with God. And I remember I would say it was actually 2022, I think. So more recent than not, that I just realized I wasn't resonating with everything that the church was saying and putting out there. And my mind started to expand. And I realized that the questions that I had weren't really welcomed in that space. It's almost like, shh, don't talk about that, or that's not welcome, or that is of the Satan, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It was like I was getting shut down, and it was like this natural, there's this pure like curiosity and this authentic desire for truth. I was never trying to go against anything or be a bad person or do any of this. It
Cause
was like
ripples or anything like.
no, it was just this
Not rebellion.
natural hunger for like, but what's true? And is this true because all these people have just said it's true? Is this true because it's a direct relationship or experience that you've had with God? I just had all these questions. And I realized that being someone that was in the church my entire life, that I needed to give myself permission to go out in the world and explore and ask questions and find out for myself. And I remember I just had to like give myself permission, and I was terrified because everyone around me told me that I was going down this dark, evil path, that I was going to be taken over by demons. And I remember being on this one call with a very well-intended, very loving, wonderful human that I love. And their perspective was that I was going down a very dark road by going away from the church. By away, I just mean not going to church anymore and taking time to find out for myself. And I remember on that call, I felt really good and heart-centered. And then on the call, I felt this like pull of fear it was a voice call or a video call, this pull of fear like into the call. And in that moment, I remember thinking, that's not mine. That fear is not mine. Amen. And so I put up like an energetic boundary, and I recentered myself. I took a deep breath, and I just projected the space outward. I held the space for them to have their experience. And I said, thank you so much that you love me. Thank you. And we ended the call. And then I just took a deep breath, and I said a prayer. And I was like, God, you know my heart. And if at any point in time I make a turn that is not in alignment with you, or that I shouldn't be down, you have my heart. Not a building, not a person, not a mentor. It's me and you. So you tell me go left, I will go left in a heartbeat. And I also trust that if you don't tell me and you allow me to go down a road and I find out for myself, I trust that I need this experience for whoever it is that I'm meant to reach. I trust that I'm the trailblazer that's meant to go. And I also trust that I'm strong enough to get through whatever it is. Meaning I just give myself full permission to go and find out and allow God to lead me step by step. And I remember I did a float tank. And in this float tank, I was praying and I asked God, I was actually crying out. I was just like, God, the world is in so much pain right now. Why am I here? What is my part? What am I meant to be doing?
Yeah.
And the message that I got in that moment was return to love, go first, and lead the way. And so in that moment, I knew that my journey was just return to love in every single moment, return to love. There's fear being presented. There's, darkness being presented, return to love, return to love. Go first. Going first means that I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be ridiculed. It means people are not going to understand. It means I won't have the answers and I won't know for sure, meaning I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And then lead the way. Be like, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I know that this path is leading to more love, to more peace, to more connection.
Yeah.
And so my journey has taken me to this place where, like I mentioned, I don't have the answers, but I am a very heart-centered person.
Yeah.
I have my heart connected to what I believe is God, source, divine. And at any moment in time, that can shift. And I'm not attached to my own ideas, beliefs, and opinions, even now.
Yeah.
I'm attached to the truth. So if the truth is ever revealed to me in a way that's opposite of how I'm living my life right now, that's where I'm going to go. So welcome to the ride.
That takes a lot of trust and faith.
Yeah.
So that I do a lot of sales training. Right?
Okay.
I talk to a lot of people, and what you were just saying leads me to think like it's different. You're not selling anybody except for you're selling yourself every day on the journey that you're taking. Right. And one of the things that I teach, and it's really hard for people to get behind, is to focus on the activity and just disconnect from the results, right? Because
Yes.
if you just do the right things and you just focus on value creation and service and whatever, then the money and the sales and all this stuff is just a scoreboard of how you're showing up. Like if you're not closing sales, it's because you're not creating enough value for the people and building enough trust and adding value to their life in the way that is congruent with what the financial ask is, right? And so that's a hard thing to do, but every day, this is your life, right? You're going through this journey and you have to sell yourself that you're going there. And it's this fine balance of, I need to do all these things. And because we have a responsibility and a calling, right? And I know you feel that, to lead the way and to lead without and have faith that you're just kind of, we call it stepping into air. You know what I'm saying?
I call it that Crystal mic.
I steal all her good lines, so just get
really
used to
does.
it, y'all.
You're
But
in
the thing is-
partnership. What's his is
I
yours,
know,
right?
yeah,
His.
totally.
And the beautiful part is like they come through me and I say them and then I forget them because I just have that kind of memory. Like I'll say the cool things and then everyone's like, that's awesome. And then I won't remember it. Chris has this photographic memory that he'll just like pull out and I'm like, ooh, good phrase.
But here's
You
the thing.
fucker, that was mine.
You probably need space for
Yeah.
new things to come through.
True.
So it's
That's
actually,
it.
There you go.
I'm
you
just
guys
like-
are the team.
I'm the
I
holding
like
tank.
that. That's
Yeah, I
he's
like
the
that.
holding tank. And then he'll randomly bring out this stuff like from years, and I'm like, ooh, oh yeah, that came through me, didn't it?
That's awesome.
right. And I
I steal
totally
all
forgot
the
it.
good stuff. It's
He
just
does
the way it
steal all the
is.
good stuff, yeah.
But the stepping into air thing, what is that like for you? Like, because I go through a very similar process, right? So I love, this is like where I feel like I really connect with you in the sense of you're doing something bigger than you even know, right? And you know it, but you don't know it, right?
Maybe bigger than you want to know.
Maybe bigger than you want to know, right? And so, and I think a lot of people go through this in their own way, and this is part of the journey of living a pure, authentic life, a real fulfilling, authentic life, is having the faith and the trust to be willing to step into air and have a mission, but disconnect from the result, and be willing, because of that disconnection, to be able to pivot and, seek new truths or have new truths revealed at times. So what is your process behind that? Like, how do you reconcile that on a daily, weekly basis?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's a constant act of surrender.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I have practices that help me do that in a physical, tangible sense. And I feel that that's helpful to take back to the spiritual side. So, for example, something very simple, cold plunging. So you get into the water, and if you fight it, it's so much harder.
It's so much painful.
But when you learn to actually use your breath and breathe into it and surrender to the cold, you're actually able to calm down. And then a practice that I love is when you are calm, then challenge yourself to see how many levels you can let go of. Meaning you're in the cold plunge, it looks like this, but typically you're tense. And so if you tune in and say, can I let go of a layer? Then you let go of a layer. Can I let go of 2 more layers? And you just continue until you're almost floating. And so that simple practice in the physical world allows me to take that into my spiritual life when I realize that I'm gripping so tight. I'm gripping to the result. I'm gripping to what I think I need in this moment. I'm gripping to what I want to happen or the season that I want to put myself in. You know, it's a great thing to be a self-starter and an entrepreneur. It doesn't work in spirituality the same.
Yeah,
because you want to make it happen.
Yeah.
You want to create the results. You want to just step into action and see the results right away. And for whatever reason, you know, I'm in a season right now that is lasting way longer than I would love it to last. And I have done every single thing that I can think of to make the season go faster. You know, and recently I just had to remind myself, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Exactly what is meant to be happening is happening. And what I focus on is how am I showing up on a day-to-day basis?
I love it.
So I really took the idea of success away from when I achieve the goal, whatever that goal is, to am I doing the action today that adds up to that goal happening? So in a easy example, weight loss.
Yep.
Am I moving my body, drinking my water, and eating healthy food? If so, I'm successful today. Yep. This is exactly what gets me there. So now I'm no longer waiting for the weight to be lost or the goal to be achieved. I feel successful on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to like stepping into thin air and kind of going back into that, it really is just taking a leap of faith and going back to those foundational truths. Another one is I'm divinely guided and supported. And I say that out loud right now, even though literally last night I was talking with some women. I have a women's mastermind that I started with just 3 women friends, and we're just there to support each other collaboratively.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I shared with them a vulnerable moment because I believe in knowing your truths, standing firm on your truths, and also allowing the human experience of what things feel like.
Yeah.
So really allowing the humanness to come through, and after we allow those feelings to come through, then standing firm in your truth. So last night, I literally shared with them, I said, it doesn't feel like I'm divinely guided and supported right now. It just doesn't feel that way. It's been a while since I've seen that or felt that or had those moments of connection. And I say this and yet I almost want to laugh. I feel so spoiled with the amount of divinely experiential moments that I've had. Moments where I've literally said to God, you could never talk to me again in my life. And I would, you know, and I'm like, could you not say those things? Just because of like how direct and how incredible and how clear those moments have been.
Yeah.
And yet I'm a human. And when I go for a while, that feels like I haven't had that same sense of connection or experience. I'm hungry for it. I'm thirsty for it. And when life knocks you down, sometimes it just feels that way. So I'm a big believer in feeling that, saying it, allowing it to come out, and then really reestablishing yourself in your truth. But what do I know? And you look at all the evidence. Look at the evidence of what life has shown you. When I look at the hardest moments in my life, I shared that moment earlier, getting out of the abusive relationship, you know, really giving my power away. I look at that moment as what has created this version of me, which is the most embodied, loving, authentic, version of me for myself that I've ever been. I don't judge and shame myself. You know, maybe it pops up here and there, but like I have such a beautiful way that I nurture the essence of who and what I am. And that relationship of self transpires to everyone else around me, you know, because the way that you treat yourself is the way that you show up and treat everyone else. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Totally. No,
Okay.
I love it.
So many beautiful parts in there. Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, you're living at a different level, but this is all stuff that everybody's going through in some capacity. You know, if you're being intentional about trying to create a life that you can actually be fulfilled by, you know, and I guess a lot of people are just kind of like drifting and that's, you know, and that's sad, you know, but this is the kind of stuff that it takes to not drift, to be intentional, you know. Are there like, what do you do on a daily basis? Like, do you have a process? I know I'm not very structured, which is a problem for me, you know, sometimes. I mean, I get through and I have the things that I do well that help me a lot. But I've always been, well, not always. I occasionally kind of drift and start going, oh, maybe I should start doing one of these like morning routine things, like or doing something like that. Do you have anything that you follow, like a regimen, like non-negotiables? This is how I live my life. This is what I do every day. This is how I get into my full power. Yeah, I can just list off my non-negotiables, and it may seem really simple, but I think when you control the controllables, the rest of your life
you can show up to it better. One of those for me is my food intake and the way that I move my body. So it seems simple, but I have a non-negotiable of 3 healthy, nutritious meals a day. And the reason for that is because I can get really busy and just not eat that much. I just get busy and I'm an entrepreneur and all the excuses.
Yes.
But when you look at your brain function, oh no, your excuses are excuses. But think about it. If you want to be the most optimized version of yourself, you want the nutrition. So it seems so simple, but 3 nutritious meals a day. And I'll even assign a time to them if I realize that I'm slacking or not holding up that non-negotiable, like 9 a.m., 12, and 5. That way there's no questions asked at those times. And even if I'm going through something and I don't have much of an appetite, I literally force myself to eat something. So 3 nutritious meals, hydration. Our body is mainly water. And if you're not drinking water, you're literally not operating as the most optimal version of you. And if you have any sort of mental health issue or gut issues and you're not drinking your water, come on, man.
I know.
Come on.
They go to the doctor for a pill.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta drink your water.
What do you target for water intake every day?
I would say a gallon, but I don't think I'm getting a gallon right now. Probably a little bit less than that.
Okay.
And then moving my body every single day. That can look different, but a minimum 45 minutes to an hour a day. So maybe one day I'm doing heavy legs. Maybe another day I'm doing a yoga flow. And another day I'm just going for a walk with the puppies and stretching. And then prayer every single day. And that for me is, it's conversating, but it's me sharing and expressing and then pausing and listening. And I feel like before, back in the days of relating that to religion and the way that I grew up, a lot of it was like just expression, right? So just me talking. And so now there's this place of me expressing, me sharing, but then me being quiet and still and listening and then asking. I ask and I listen. So sometimes I might pose a question and then I just wait for a response and I trust whatever comes up and I might just write that down and I might do a few series of a few different questions and answers. Meditation is a tool that I love and I do it different every single day. Some days it'll be a quiet meditation just to still the mind because some people think that they can't meditate because when they sit down, their thoughts are going like crazy. That is the practice. And that is actually giving you all the information that you need for where you're at. So when you sit down and your mind is racing with your to-do list, it's showing you that your mind is in this anxious, preoccupied state of all the things that you need to do. And you're not actually even present with yourself. You're not present ever. Your mind is always in the future. It's always in what you need to be doing. If you sit down and your mind is just, thinking about the past or conversations that you need to have, it's literally showing you, hey, you need to go and close these loops. You need to have that hard conversation that you've been avoiding because it's not allowing you to be present in your everyday experience. So even when your mind is racing, meditation is doing what it's meant to be doing. Just document, observe without judgment what's coming up. And when you do that, then you have the information you need for what you need to take action on. Meditation, let's see, breath work. I don't do anything crazy on a day-to-day basis, to be honest. I just recognize and I have self-awareness to when my breath is more shallow or I'm not really taking deep breaths. And I'll just take a moment to center myself. Even in a conversation like this, if I recognize that I'm holding my breath a little bit or it's up here, I might just settle in and breathe down into my body and allow my body to expand and open. I'm very conscious if in a conversation or something, if I feel like I'm going like this, I'm closing in even just a little bit. And I just breathe and I open. I want my heart space open. So those are just a few of the little practices that I have.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, those are so helpful. You have changed so much in these last couple of years, have you not? Do you even recognize the person that you were before you broke off into this exploration of different definitions of spirituality? And
oh yeah, she's so here with me. I look back and I love her and I love her heart. One thing, I've always had like a very pure heart that just loved truth and loved love. And the ways that I would seek that out always felt right in the moment. And everything along my journey, my whole experience in religion, I think that's a large part of why I do have a relationship with God. So I don't even look back on any of that as a negative thing. I just look at it as a necessary part of my own learning. And then I was having an expanded desire to expand in my experience, in my knowledge, in my spirituality, more than what that container could offer me. So I don't even look at it as, yes, it's a different version of me, but like the foundational ingredients, still me.
Yeah.
I've just expanded beyond certain containers.
Right.
All right, so
Oh, there's something brewing here.
If you were to go back, because you've gone through a lot, you've changed a lot,
Yeah.
you know, in what you're just saying, like if you could go back, knowing the journey that you've been on,
You're taking my question.
knowing that we're just connected.
No, you sent it to him.
We're tethered. You sent it to me.
telepathically.
Yeah, it's perfect.
If you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of this journey, all of the things, knowing in full 2020 vision of how it's gone between then and now, and you could go sit next to yourself on a bench in a park and talk about what's going to happen, and you know, and listen to your former self talk about the fears and the thoughts and the journey, the contemplations, and be able to go to her and say, hey, this, you know, what would you say to yourself?
Wow. What's wild is before I even speak, this is a different conversation, but I don't think time's even real. So
No,
it feels like
not.
I am speaking to her. And so that's why,
Yes.
that's why the emotion, because I know how real that actually is.
Yeah.
Speak directly to her if you feel it. I'm here with you, sister. We got this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. I would be really excited for her. And I would tell her that you're going to go through the hardest times of your entire life, and it's going to feel like you're going to die and like you're going to leave this world. And don't believe that. It's just a fear. And all of these things that you're about to go through is going to set you up for literal freedom of your soul. Your soul is not currently free. You're outsourcing everything, love, power, safety to everyone and everything except for yourself. And everything that you are currently seeking in these external forms, it literally resides within your own heart. God, love, safety, peace. There's an abundant form of that within you. You just haven't been taught how to access it. Your entire life, you've been told that it's outside of yourself, that it's in a building, in a person, in someone else's wisdom, but you literally have the wisdom of the universe within you. So get excited to let a lot of shit go. You're really going to have to let it go. You're going to have to let go of the idea that other people have of you and what they think and what they say about you and your desire to be liked by other people. You're going to have to be okay with not being liked, not being understood, being judged. And you're going to need to lean on your own inner wisdom to know that you are in integrity with the path that you're taking and that it doesn't look like other people's paths. And it doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong. It means that their path is for them and yours is for you. So literally let it go. Allow people to have the process of their own soul's journey and give yourself the permission to have your own process of your soul's journey. And you can't get it wrong. Even when you feel like you've made a mistake or you've taken the wrong path, you literally came here to learn. So take notes, observe, laugh, and say, that's funny that I did that again. All right, let's see how we can do this differently next time.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's take it to the next level.
Okay.
So now you're here.
Yeah.
You've gone through that journey.
Yeah.
If you literally ask the question that is in my mind for a second time in a row,
So
we're going to have to talk about this.
You're sitting on the same park bench, and all of a sudden the future you shows up.
This is dope. Take me there.
I'm at
Right.
10 years from now. Where are you?
I don't have a time for it.
I'm seeing you 10 years from now, sitting with yourself today.
Based on all the thoughts and all the fears, the highest version
Yeah,
of
we're
yourself.
challenging you. We're
highest-
challenging you.
I'm going to close my eyes and just go.
And
right
so
into this.
supporting
Get
you
there.
and challenging you. Yeah.
Visualize the highest version of yourself coming and sitting next to you and guiding you and coaching you right now the same way that you just went back and coached the earlier version of yourself.
Wow. Wow. It's cool because she has all of the external reflections of what I have internally. Oh, wow. And now I'm actually understanding, because that first journey and that first part was for me to build everything that I have internally. I say it all the time. I'm internally I think I'm the wealthiest person in the world. And there's not the external reflection necessarily at the moment, but she has the external reflection, and it only happened because of this version of me now that has it internally. And she's reminding me that everything that is not meant to go there is breaking off. It's like everything has to be broken off. Everything has to be cleared out in order for there to be such a clear space for me to create from this version. Because prior, I created from that version of me. And so now being this version of me, it's a different essence. It's a different life form that's going to take place in this life and what I'm here to create. And it's going to be from such a pure place. So before, it was impure, but not in a judgmental or shameful way, just I wasn't in my fullest authentic essence. And now that I am, what I create will go further, way beyond where I've ever gone. And there's been a bit of a fear of being seen in big, large groups, because I've had the visions of where I end up. And that feels scary based on my past. But I'm reminded in this moment that the past is like a concept of the mind. It's actually not even real. It's a fear that tries to keep you stuck and hold you back. This is crazy. Wow. Yeah, she's not concerned and she's not worried and she's not stressing. And she's just reminding me that I always have exactly what I need, and to continue to rely on the frequencies that I connect with, such as both of you, because in those frequencies, things are multiplied. And to continue to surround myself around people like that, because that's what creates momentum. And in community, we're meant to be communal creatures. We are meant to do these things together. We're not meant to be alone and stuck and isolated, because that's when we start to believe the lies, or we think that we're going to repeat the past, or fear gets a hold of us, gets its grip on us. So yeah, I could probably go on, but I'll probably just say thank you, higher self, for all of these reflections in this lesson. And thank you guys so much for cultivating that for me. That was super dope.
So cool. So cool. The word pruning is coming to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that resonates with you right now, but like
Fully.
she's just kind of standing there holding like the pruning clips.
Yeah.
And like, baby girl, this is just where you are right now. Like you're not in growth every single season. And in order to move to that next level, we have to release the things that no longer serve us, and the people that no longer serve us, and the opportunities that no longer serve us and that weren't meant to be. And I know that one of my foundational truths that I haven't named like that, but I might just borrow your naming, because I really love that, like the deepness of it, is this or something better. And I fully, fully trust now in my cells, and I just believe it. And I say it all the time, this or something better, which just opens you up to either be in contentment for what is. Like I really can sit in it, because I know that if there's something better that's meant to be, that either is on its way or it already would be here. And so if I believe that, then the logic implies that this is the best thing in this moment, or there would be something better.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And because of that, in sitting in that bestness, you just need to prune away all of those things that aren't here for your next like growth spurt, right? And so it's just pruning. And I love that you're gentle on yourself, but my hardwiring is less gentle on myself often. And it goes into the you're bad, you're wrong, you failed, you fucked up, like, this old stuff. And it's like, no, those are just dead leaves. It's just time to like do a little pruning, and so I don't know. Yeah, but I love that. Thank you for being willing to play in that conversation with your future.
Yeah, thanks for carrying that. And I relate to that inner critic, that inner judgment. I think a lot of people relate to that. And I have not always been this loving and nurturing to myself. Yeah. But you got to realize, you got to really ask yourself, is this working for me to like beat myself up and judge myself and shame myself and be a complete jerk to myself?
Yes. Use the Dr. Phil thing. Like, how's that working for you?
100%.
How's that working for you? He does it so
100%.
lovingly, but it's like a knock on the head. Like, oh, duh, maybe I should try something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
I also like to ground myself, though, and ask myself, okay, if I knew better, would I do better? And often the answer is yes. Sometimes it's no. Sometimes I repeat things on purpose. I've done that in my life. Okay. But at the same time, if I'm repeating it on purpose, to me, that means I didn't really get the lesson fully.
Sure.
Right. And once I got the lesson fully, then I no longer repeat it. So another thing I do is I think about the version of me that messed up or is wrong, whatever I'm feeling. And instead of seeing this version of me, the adult, I see it as my little girl self. And as if she's here and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to do this again. It's her. And so in that moment, I get to just put my arms around her and say, I got you. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to learn. And I just get to like love, and I get to be that like mothering, nurturing, loving essence to all versions of myself, whether it's child or teenage or 20 years old or yesterday. I get to like love and nurture and care for that version of myself, because I believe that love is the most powerful thing in the world. And so if you can love yourself into growth, I think that's so much more powerful than shaming and judging, because we know that creates a cycle of anything. You know, judge yourself, shame yourself, you're back in the same patterns and behaviors. So instead, can we approach it from a heart-centered, loving perspective, just like you would, you know, from a very heart-centered place, love someone into their growth? It's doing that for yourself too.
Right. And I think if somebody's interested in digging deeper into that process for themselves, the name for it is reparenting.
Yes.
I believe. Right. So if anybody wants to nerd out on that and like go down the rabbit hole, you know, there's like the listening to your child and honoring your child. But the catch term right now is reparenting. And how would we parent our younger selves if we came at that relationship with compassion, as opposed to maybe how sometimes we felt criticized or judged or not enough as kids, even with well-meaning, loving parents who did the best that they had with what they could do, right? Caveat, like not trying to blame or shame, but that's how we interpreted it. And so how did you learn? Was there anything, did you read any books? Did you take any courses? Like, did you have a path to learning to reparent yourself? Or did it just come naturally as part of your process?
No, I don't think I just came out with it. I am always a seeker of truth, and I always want to learn. When it comes to personal development, spirituality, I'm like a sponge. So the amount of self-taught content that I consume is insane, and always has been. From even watching like preachers online, you know, and taking the goodness out of their messages into podcasts just like this, where I hear something and that teaches me something. So a lot of it's been self-taught through podcasts, you know, speakers that I listen to. There's been books as well, none that I would recommend as far as like reparenting goes. But I think when I did a large majority of my healing, it was when I was working with some healers and mentors, and they just kept reflecting parts of me to me. And in that, I gained a lot of self-awareness around my own relationship with myself. And I realized I was just being a complete asshole to myself. And which is funny because then you wonder why I'm in these abusive relationships. It's always a reflection of something internally.
Right.
And so even though I knew in my mind and heart, I deserve a kind love, I deserve, you know, someone that is respectful and these things. If I wasn't fully being that for myself to myself in the dark moments where no one's watching, and I wasn't speaking to myself that way, then that's why I was attracting that into my life. So for me, it just was some moments of self-awareness of how my relationship with myself was manifesting in external realities. And once I realized that, I realized also that like, I've only got me. You know, I've been on my own since I was 16. My whole family split up, and I lived in my car at one point. I moved across the country. I've just been alone for a lot of my life. And at the end of the day, if I don't have a good relationship with me, I'm the only one that I've actually got. So me building such a strong relationship with myself and finding that love within has me now to where I love my alone time so much because I am so much fun and because I love me and I take care of me and I'm a great time. To now it's like, if you don't add to what I've already got going on with me, I'd rather be alone.
I love this. Like someone else is in competition with your own awesomeness to spend time with you.
100%.
That's so rad.
That's beautiful.
That's so rad. Yeah.
And my dogs.
And your dogs. Which are super
What kind of dogs do you have?
2 Frenchies, Vinny and Frankie, and they're the cutest little
They're
babies.
so stinking
ever.
cute. I mean, you're cute on Instagram, but like
my
the dogs, I mean,
They're my best friends in the world. Every single night, it says on my calendar, sunset with pups, and it's blocked off. So no one can take that schedule. No one can take that time block.
Awesome.
Every single day I say, hey guys, do you want to go catch a sunset? And Frankie, the little one, he runs and he hits the door and he looks at me and he's just so excited for it. And we catch a sunset every single night. And it's just my absolute favorite moment of the day.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so drop your Instagram handle real quick so people can go see Frankie and
Vinny.
Frankie and Vinny.
You'll see our sunsets.
The Italian mafia dogs that are like this big.
They're Italian
and they're all
lobsters
love.
from New York.
Nice.
They're all love, as long as you don't mess with their mama.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Okay, do your Instagram handle real quick just so they can go see your dogs.
Of course. My full name, Emily Hayden. It's Hayden.
Okay, perfect. And then dogs will be doing autograph signings at the next book release deal, as they should, because they're little rock stars.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go back into a moment for me. So the purpose of this this whole podcast is about healing, growing, and thriving, and the loop that we're constantly all in, right?
Thanks for saying the loop.
Yeah.
The loop.
It's not a straight path.
Yeah.
And it's done with the healing.
Totally.
And it's not a destination. Like you don't get to thrive and then go, yes, I made it. You know, like internally, externally, obviously, as the last 2 years has illustrated. Like check on all the boxes that we wanted out of life.
Just looking forward to the next one. That we
I
have no idea what's going to
know you
happen,
are.
right?
I
Like, because
know
you know
you
it's
are.
happening,
Never know
right?
what you're gonna get.
I know,
Yeah.
I know it's going to happen.
And I play big,
like, it's
baby.
coming.
I swing big. I play big. Like when I flop,
like,
it's a belly
When's
flop.
Hannah going to pull the pin and throw the grenade in the
throw the
room
grenade in the
again?
room.
You know, when's that going to happen?
but like,
it's cool.
But that's how we get
We got
back.
it.
So we kind of do this. Like I do this. I picture this loop, and you start off by healing, which is the traumas, the capital T traumas. And then the lowercase t traumas that so many of us don't even acknowledge that we have had from our childhood and from our young adulthood to ourselves and from others, which is a totally different string of conversation that I'm just now at my middle age. I'm officially in middle age now, which is weird. I'm acknowledging trauma.
Age is not even.
What is middle age? Define.
Well,
I know.
I mean,
You're
like
gonna live
when
to
you're on the hill,
130.
Middle.
I'm
okay.
not just looking at the hill anymore. Like I'm on the hill.
I don't want to be dark, but like you could die tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
are you middle age? No, you're actually
Right.
like the
I'm
youngest
actually on
that
my
you've ever
deathbed
been.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
No, not
Thank
your
you for that
deathbed.
levity. I feel so much better now.
Like, wait, this didn't go how I planned. But I just think it's silly.
than that.
I think
Yeah.
it's silly that we get so
Yeah,
hung
it's
up
true.
on age when the truth is life is short. It's not promised. And why are we going to stress about age? If this is our last day, like live it fully. You know, I pray we all live very long lives. But like, why are we getting so hung up on age when
It's true. And all the downloads can happen in an instant, or it can take you another 10 years to learn a thing, or it can like download in a second also. But yeah, I totally lost where I was
Heal,
going
grow,
with
thrive.
all of that. Oh yeah, the heal, grow,
loop.
thrive. Thank you, the
loop.
loop. And ideally, it's an ascending loop, right?
Yeah.
So we have to heal our stuff and let it go. And I love how we started with you giving a real visceral example of people how you feel the feelings and you let them come out, and like you maybe name them, you don't name them, but you allow them and you give them space to be. So that alone is incredibly healing, which many of us never had as a tool growing up. And I want to make sure to go home and do that with my kids, not just this mindfulness of like sit and let's do yoga, but like give them the space. I'm just picturing it now. Like, I don't know that I've taught them how to sit and allow the feelings to come through. So I want to work on that with them, which is cool. So thank you for that homework assignment that I now have. Of
course.
But then the loop is then we move into growing and deepening in our love for ourselves, realizing that we are our hottest date, right? Like we are our own priority time, and that's fabulous and really coveted. And then we move into thriving. It's when we do the input and we release the output, you know, like you guys were talking about before in the business space. Then we're in the thriving, and then something happens that we realize, oh shit, I'm going back to healing. But each time we do it, hopefully the loop is ascending, at least in a direction that feels more like bringing us connected to source and all of that. Where would you help someone who is go back to the younger woman, not to bring us back to the dark times again, but say there's a woman who is in the situation of the abusive relationship like you're in, right? And she can't imagine thriving at this moment.
Totally.
And growing is even a stretch because she needs to heal something. What would you tell her as the first step? Because you're lighting a beautiful path of here's what life can look like if you choose you.
Yeah.
If you advocate for you, and you do that deep work, what's a first step for her to start to like love herself enough to say, I want to do this, all that you already talked about?
Yeah, I think before I share the first step, I have an awareness of how sometimes people perceive me and the things that I've been through just based on watching a video. So I actually want to speak more fully to where she's at and what she might be feeling and the things that I felt and experienced and the limited perspective that I had.
Please.
Because it blows my own mind that I was ever there. It blows my own mind that I couldn't see life without pain. I couldn't see a life without this never-ending pain. It felt like a physical substance within me. And I was at the point of fantasizing of how to make that end. And on a daily basis, really haunted by wanting the pain to end. And every time that I tried to think positive, which I'm the most optimistic, hopeful, positive person that you will meet.
Yeah.
And I got so broken down into nothing. And I allowed myself to continue to experience those things to this place where I couldn't see one glimmer of hope. I couldn't see a way out.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to share that because now being on the other end of that, it was just the biggest lie and I couldn't see it at the time. And so I want people to know that if they are in that very dark place and they feel like there isn't a way out for them, there is. You might just not be able to see it in this moment. So you don't even have to believe it. But will you just believe my experience and say, you know what, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I'm listening to this podcast for a reason. And maybe someone who's been through it can look back and say, hey, I've been there. And even though you can't see that light at the end of the tunnel, I promise it's there. So the first step that I would say is you have to give yourself a safe space. If you're not getting a safe space in your intimate relationships, your partnership, wherever you're at, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, give yourself a safe space. I took a van out into the middle of the forest and disappeared. Literally what I did. And within days, I experienced peace for the first time in a very long time. I remember journaling. And I journaled and I was just in this beautiful journaling session. The sun is rising. There's water, there's mountains, my puppies. I'm in a van in nature and I'm just in my element journaling. And I remember saying, I feel peace and this is so beautiful. And I feel gratitude. And then it dawned on me. I said, hold on. And I flip back through my journal and I look at the day of a certain journal entry.
Yeah.
And I count the days. 33 days ago, I was ready to end my life. And in 33 days, here I am experiencing something that I literally could not see in my future.
Wow.
I couldn't see a moment without that unending pain. Now, was I fully healed in that moment 33 days later? Absolutely not. But when you're that low, even feeling 1% better is enough to hang on. So just really want to speak to them and say, give yourself that safe space. Maybe you can't disappear into the forest. I understand that. Can you go to a girlfriend's house? Can you go to a family's house? Can you go in your car and drive an hour away into nature? And can you just give yourself a moment to be still and to be with yourself? Give yourself that safe space to express, to be. And then the second thing, I know you didn't ask for it, but I'm going to say it anyways. Stop handing your power over to everyone else. You've placed your power in everything else except for yourself. And I know you don't feel powerful. You feel stuck. You feel powerless. You feel like a victim. You are experiencing things that victims experience, but your response to it is what will make you not a victim. You can choose to respond differently by not allowing it to continue, by getting out however it is that you need to get out. And it's not just me. I have sisters that had children that got out of abusive relationships and marriages, and they had no money. So if your brain is telling you there is no way to get out, then get resourceful. Start opening your mouth, start telling people what's actually going on, and start asking questions. If you don't know a way out, get resourceful. Everyone can be resourceful. Ask a lady on the street. It doesn't matter. Like, start opening your mouth, telling people what's going on, because if you're suffering in silence, that's where that fear, that's where that powerlessness, that's where all of that gets a grip on you so strong that you won't be able to see a way out.
One of the most meaningful public service announcements you ever could have just offered to the world. Thank you. I'm just feeling so much gratitude for like having this platform that message could come out. and go across the airwaves, you know, to touch that life, and ideally those lives that have never had a sister speak into them about how they actually are able to escape that horrible nightmare that they're living in. And I mean, I fully know and I understand, and I've touched the bottom of what you described so viscerally, not from abusive relationships, except for with myself and my struggles with alcoholism and with addiction to substances and behaviors that absolutely destroyed me, to the point where the pain was so strong. I remember being like, I don't want to die. I don't want to kill myself, right? That feels dramatic. I just want the pain to end.
That's where I was at too, yeah.
And like every breath was like, it hurts. Like I remember the weight on my lungs and being like, and this is when I was like my life was exploding 15 years ago from multiple addictions at the same time. And Chris was involved, and I had pushed him away. And I laid on the floor. This was like the moment. I've had multiple depression episodes since then. Like you said, it's not like a one and done. You fix your mental health, or get spiritual, and then all of a sudden it's perfect, right? But it's the loop. And but this very first visceral moment, I'll never forget. It was the transformation that changed my life. As I was laying on the ground, I had blown up. I had pursued a relationship that I thought was the real relationship, right? But it was like an addictive, abusive, emotionally, spiritually, sexually abusive relationship that I didn't realize till much later. And that person re-entered my life, and I like left Chris to go pursue this, thinking it was the right thing. And I lost my house, I lost my job, I lost my car. It was like a country song. Like I was like a big old,
a bad country
like
song.
a real old-fashioned country song. Like the dog even.
the dog
like
too?
the dog
I
even.
took the dog.
He kept the dog.
Oh, hell yeah, I took the dog.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, like everybody
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
as long as it was him.
Like,
She's
yeah.
like, I side with Chris. I know.
Yeah.
That's the story of my
The
life.
dog,
And that's
yeah.
okay. So did
I had
so did my family. Like they're a good judge of character. So was the dog. Don't worry, dog was good. I was the psycho at that moment in time. And I remember like I stayed at a friend's house in the midst of blowing everything up. Like I had the corner office. I had the car with 3 letters. Like I looked on the outside like it was all perfect and coming together. And I was dead inside. Like I was so broken. And that silent scream for help, but I couldn't tell anyone because I couldn't show through the facade of I've got this.
Wow.
I couldn't show through the facade of everything's perfect.
Wow.
I didn't think, I didn't believe, I didn't see a way. And I had never seen an example of anyone speaking, I need help through that, right? And so that's why it's so freaking ridiculously beautiful and powerful and important that we get to shine for someone. We are in amazingness, and it's okay to ask for help. Like, and you're going to have moments, and they're not mutually exclusive. Like you're fucking amazing and beautiful and powerful, and you could be at a place where you can't breathe and you feel the weight on your chest and you have a knife in your hand and you're slobber crying, just saying, I want the pain to end. And they're not mutually exclusive in those moments. But I remember for me, it was like the very first time that I'll just tell the story then. I'm on the floor, and this guy had left, as he should have, to protect healthy boundaries and be like, okay, I'm gonna, like if you don't want me, I'm not gonna stay here. And then the other guy had come and then left and abandoned, right? And it triggered all of the abandonment wounds stuff all over again. And like I said, I lost everything. And I'm like laying on the floor of the friend's house, of the couch that like I'm crashing on, knife in hand, just being like, the pain is too much. And I called this woman. I had started going to OA meetings, these Overeater Anonymous meetings. And I found a sponsor in that. And I called this woman. She was like a grandmother figure, she had contentment in her life. She had contentment in her eyes. And I wanted that. And I was like, I don't know. Could you be on my phone list? Like, could I be in your life? Could you be in my life? And in that moment, she was the one that I called, not anybody that I knew really, really well. So like you say, talk to a stranger, like follow that intuition. It might be a person that you might have never had a conversation with before, whose destiny puts them exactly where they are supposed to be part of your story, to help keep you safe and move you to the next level. So I called this woman that I wasn't even that close with. And I was like, I don't know who else to call. And here's where I am. And she came over, and I was expecting the old, like, you'll be okay, sweetheart. Like, look at the bright side of things. Like, pick yourself up, you know, the lift yourself from the bootstraps old thing. You're strong enough. You got this. You can handle this. And that's what I was expecting from her. And instead, she walks over to the couch, grabs a pillow, puts it under my head, puts a blanket on top of me. I'm still holding a knife on the tile and snot crying, like the really ugly cry, like it is dripping. And I just couldn't see a way out through that pain that you described so beautifully. And she goes, cry it out. And I'll be here when you're finished. And then we can get to work. Wow. And I had never, she literally went and sat on the couch and opened a book. Like the audacity of that, my life is completely collapsing and all I see is my own chaos and my own lack of like all of my own story in that, like the darkness of that bubble in which I had co-created and allowed. And it became okay in that moment to not be okay for the first time in my life. Wow. I had never had a woman just say, cry, sister, I got you. And the healing power of that is absolutely so ridiculous. It's just unspeakable. And that changed me forever. And in that moment, I realized like, that's a real starting point of like, let yourself feel this and actually let it out. And then you can get into the process of like, okay, let's heal and we can go from here. But just, yeah, I don't know. It brought me back to that. And you never know who that's going to be for you either.
Wow. That is so beautiful. And what a beautiful space holder. I have this saying with my friends, if you want to kick rocks, I'll kick rocks with you. You know, sometimes people need you to just be in it with them for a minute and not try to fix or help or save or heal. It's not why we're here, you know, and in that moment, that's not what people need. They need non-judgmental love, just love, just presence. Right. Presence and a witnessing and someone to be a reflection of love. I think sometimes even when people try to step in and help, what they do is they go from this loving high vibrational state and then they try to get into the pain with them, therefore lowering their own frequency instead of holding the frequency of love, saying, I love you. Do your process. I'm here. When you're ready, let's elevate together.
Right. And allowing it. It's that beautiful hybrid, which it's fascinating to me. And I just keep looking at it going like, and it's not about how would life be different if, wouldn't it be easier if, but man, I wish we knew this stuff when we were younger, you know, like I wish that I had someone who knew how to hold space for me. And I see a world in which we are having these conversations. And so we are now learning that holding of that space, like creating a safe container where you can just be unconditionally okay, however you are, okay or not, wherever you are, the transformational power of that shifts everything.
It really does.
Yeah. And so it's been a really beautiful change in my friendships with people too. You know, to be able to allow a friend to go through something and just be like, I got you. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. You want to cry about it? Let's cry about it. You want to go for a walk? You want to sit? You want to watch a movie? Do you want to just be? Do you want to just share space with me and know that you're loved and that you're enough? And it's so much easier than trying to jump in and fix and heal and solve, and because that doesn't work anyway. Then what we're doing is we're unconsciously telling them you can't solve your own problem. That external source you were talking about, whether it's a God or a boyfriend or a husband or a boss or a whomever, a family member, has to tell you what to do next, has to tell you how to heal yourself, has to give you permission to be. And this is like flipping that paradigm completely. Yeah. And this is the beginning of how the world shifts.
I think we're on the cusp of one of the biggest awakenings that we've seen in many, many generations. Hence, you know, I think that a lot of people were drinking and eating the food with all the chemicals and all the things. Now we're seeing this massive awakening of people that are sober curious, even people that aren't alcoholics, you know, people that are choosing organic food without all the chemicals and pesticides all over them. And people are becoming more intentional and more conscious, and they're waking up. And I think that there has to be trailblazers of people that raise families that are able to hold space for emotions and have that non-judgmental place of love for each other. So I hear you, and same. I think, we all wish that we had that growing up, but a lot of us didn't. And it's so that we could learn the lessons of being able to create that in our own lives and in our own communities. I really have such a vision for what I think community and this world and this planet can be. And I think that it literally starts within the confines of our own hearts. So each person that decides to go through their own growth, their own healing, their own journey, you're literally adding to the collective of the planet. And I think sometimes people with really good hearts get really mission focused, but there's a lack of embodiment within themselves. And I think that the first step is making sure that you're actually taking the path, you're actually embodying all the things that you want to see in the world, and then sharing that and then leading from that place. I think that's when my problem with religion a little bit is that there's a lack of embodiment in a lot of environments there. Not everyone by any means, but overall, I see a big lack of embodiment in the values. And I think when you're doing the deep inner work, you are shifting and evolving and growing and changing into the values on a daily basis, instead of just having like an idea of like, we value these things. It's like, no, I'm actually on a daily basis growing and welcoming myself into these places.
So something just hit me, and I got to ask this question. Something that came up a lot for me this week in my conversations with, more specifically, other men that I was kind of speaking into and coaching a little bit, and we're engaging with each other, had to do with this idea that surrender is the key to growth. And the fact that we're striving and we I don't know about you, but for me, I have this problem of wanting to control situations, and I have like, I so like I want to control situations. I want to know that I'm on a path. It's like, all right, I'm okay to stretch myself, or the old version of myself was I'm okay to stretch, and I have my limitations. Like as long as you don't get outside the box that I've kind of created for myself, that's cool. In my work with plant medicine, this is something that like ayahuasca really, really brought to me, was surrender. And I had 3 journeys back to back to back that were probably the hardest 3 days of my life because I made them hard.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Because the medicine,
just go ahead and fight God. That's going to work out well for you.
The medicine was trying to show me. We don't have time to get into it all, but it was trying to show me a path, and it was trying to stretch me and get me to step in faith and realize that I couldn't. And all 3 journeys with their own process and their own reasons why, and like whatever. But the commonality between every single one of them was I needed to let go of control. I needed to surrender because God has a higher vision for my life than I even know. And the more I said, all right, I'll go with you, right? Because I'm on this journey. And I said, I'll go. Every single journey I did, every one of these journeys, the 3 journeys, I'd be like, all right, I'll go. And then it would keep pushing me. And it was almost like it was a reflection of life. We keep going, we keep going, we keep going. And then we hit that point where we're like, all right, this is where enough is enough. Like my trust runs out here. Woo. Right? My faith runs out here. And so then
that's visceral.
Right?
Yeah, you can like feel the line,
like,
right?
Because you go, like we all say, let's act in faith. Let's go move. I'm stepping into air. I'm doing all these things. And then you get to that point where you're like, fuck.
Yes, the cliff.
That might be a little too far.
Yeah.
Or like the floor's not there. Like, will I fly? Well, is there like a floor there? Is it translucent? Like, what's going on? And you just got to step into that faith. And the thing with ayahuasca with me, and the reason and I know it's not the point, but like ayahuasca, once you feel it, you can't unfeel it, right? So there's one thing to be like, to try to convince ourselves, is one of the reasons I love working with plant medicine this way, is that because I could never get this experience and experience that what it means to actually have trust and faith, and then get the feeling after of the result of full surrender, and actually it getting better due to the surrender. And And like for me in the ayahuasca journeys, like I would go right to that point where it'd be getting worse and worse and worse. And I'd be like, all right, I'm going with you. I'm going with you. I can get this. I can go this. We're on the same path. I've got the same vision. Let's go. And the journey is so real. And you're there. And then it goes, all right, I want you to do this. And you're like, fuck that. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Right. I literally, I mean, it's crazy. And then as soon for me, these 3 journeys in a row, I went through so much, like literally more emotional and physical pain because it manifests because pain is just in the mind, right? And like more physical pain, more emotional pain than I ever experienced. Each journey was more pain combined than I probably experienced my entire life.
Wow.
And as soon as I got to the point where I was like, okay, I can't fight this anymore, whether I want to or not, I can't. Like I had one experience where I literally got to the point where I experienced my own death.
Yeah.
And I got to live it and have the conversations with the people that I cared about.
Wow.
And then I had to surrender because I got to the point where I was like, fuck, I'm dying. Like, I can't stop this. And I had to surrender because you either go out in dignity and you surrender, or you like kick and scream like a little baby as you're going out, and nobody wants that, right? Like, and so I literally remember having the conversation, like, stop being a little pansy and like die with dignity. That was the word that I used. And I was scared because I was told you can't die on ayahuasca. You're totally safe, which is totally true, you know, but in the moment,
Doesn't feel like that.
in the moment, I was like, well, what if he was wrong? This feels so real. And like all these things. And when I let it happen, it just became such like a pillar in my life, that feeling of like everything I want is on the other side of surrender.
Wow.
You know, and it's not always easy, but and it was also a metaphor for saying the more you fight the surrender, the harder your life's going to get, the more pain you're going to experience. And once you let go and you can lean into the surrender and try to find the meaning in the surrender, then that's where the magic happens.
Wow.
What's been your experience?
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I resonate a lot with that. I had a DMT Bufo ceremony where I was met with the most amount of fear and pain that I've ever had in my entire life. And it's interesting because I wrote down one sentence before I went, and I said, my intention is to let go of the deeply rooted fear and pain that I've carried with me my entire life. So what do you think happened? I got
Careful what you ask for.
physically feel it's like, imagine all of the fear you've ever had in your life all happening once at the same exact moment times 30. And I had that, and I realized as well that I was dying and this was going to kill me. And then I thought in that space after everything's happening, wow, I died. Whatever we did in that room, I died. And this is it now. And I was in a different realm, and it went from that place of the deeply rooted fear and pain into then all of a sudden it was like an ocean of love. An ocean of love just surrounded me. And I thought, oh, that's what love is. I got to actually feel what love is for the first time. Like true, uninhibited, pure love from source.
Yeah.
And when I came back, first off, I was like, whew, I have a body.
I'm here.
And I had such a new appreciation for my body. I was like, this human earth suit is so cool. The fact that we can like taste and touch and feel and sense, and we can move around in this 3D reality is such a gift. And when it's over, it's over. And that's beautiful too. But this right here is such a gift. It gave me such a new reverence for my body. And that's why now I move, I eat, I nourish, and I try to really take care of this human earth suit that I have. You know, I think it's cool that we can like upgrade it and do whatever we want. We can like, give it the full package, you know,
That's great.
the GT package or whatever. So that's why I'm like, you should take care of your earth suit. It's the one and only one that you have while you're here. But also when I came back, I had the illusion of fear removed. So similar to what you're saying, that the fear of like, this is where that ends for me. And I'm a human and I still kind of go back into that place sometimes. but it really removed, before it used to feel so real. Like the fear was so real. And what I realized, I was like laughing afterwards too. It was like, it was all a joke. It felt like a joke to me. Like fear, like it's the biggest lie. Like it's such a joke because the only thing that is actually real is love, and everything else is a misperception or an illusion. Because right beyond that fear of everything that I thought, I literally thought that I was dying. On the other end of that was the most amount of love that I'd ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of relate that experience to like me before that.
Yeah.
And then there's the version after that.
Like reborn.
And that's really where a lot of my foundational truths came from of I'm divinely loved, guided, and supported. Everything is happening for me. I came here on purpose. I'm here on a mission. My soul family is here. I'm not alone, right? It's like those foundational truths really combat all of those lies that can seep in when you're going through difficult times and can feel so real based on your human experience.
Yeah.
But when you realize that we're so much more beyond these human earth suits, you realize that you're seeing it from like such a surface layer perspective. Yeah.
Totally. What I got out of that too is, as I'm listening, is like you went through that experience and it gave you a feeling. You know, we were talking earlier, it's not what we say, it's how we feel about what we say, right? We could say all the right words, but you need to feel it. And so that feeling created a foundation for you, right? And that foundation, going back through this conversation, seems to be, and I don't know, I'd be curious to hear your intake or input on this, is like, it seems to me what I'm hearing is that that experience there became a foundation, not to say that you're always going to be perfect and you're not going to experience fear, but when you do experience fear, you have this foundation that you can go sit, meditate, lean on, and because you've felt it and you know it's true in your heart, in your soul, like you trust it. And so it gives you this safe space to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah, having direct experience, there's nothing else like it. There's really nothing else like it. And I had direct experience with Source one time in my bedroom. Zero plant medicine, zero THC, zero anything. And the best thing that I could compare it to would be like a psychedelic-like experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fully sober in my bedroom, happened when I was going to church, still very religious.
Okay.
Just praying in my bedroom. And that direct experience, that's actually what opened the door for me of there's something so much more than what I'm being told in this building by this certain curriculum. And that's actually what guided me towards expanding my mind, expanding my horizons to go out there and search for that myself. It's actually what's tattooed on me because it was such an impactful day in my life.
I was going to ask what those tattoos are because I didn't think you had those tattoos last time I met you. Did
I
you?
don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Will you share those with us?
Yeah. So this one is Hebrew, and I don't share what it means anymore, other than it reflects the most impactful day of my life where I had direct experience with Source, the experience I just shared.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, what Source said with me, and then what I shared back.
I also honor that you're keeping that private.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
I often, and I think maybe this is a woman thing, when someone asks you a question, you answer it. When someone wants something from you, you give it, right? Sexually, relationally, business-wise, that's what we're taught.
Wow.
And so for you to hold a container for yourself of safety in that way, I will answer your question in love, and I will also hold my own boundary was really like tingly. Yeah, really beautiful. So thank you for that, how you handled that.
Yeah, it's sacred to me. And I have shared it before, but I realized that other people didn't have the perspective to hold the sacred essence of it.
Yeah.
So now it's something that I keep more to myself. I'll share generally, but
Yeah. What a great role modeling of how to do that. That's just rad. Thank you.
I appreciate that so much. I'm really big on boundaries.
Well, we all
In
can learn
general.
from that. We all can learn from that. Like that's not something that often is, it's not a tool that we picked up about how to do boundaries and how to also be loving and expose yourself and be vulnerable and share, but also protect your own sacred.
Well, also in this day and age of social media, and especially I used to be a YouTube vlogger, so I vlogged everything in my life. Now I have a different way with how I show up and what I share because there are things that are sacred to me. And I don't think that everything is meant for everyone. So I think recognizing what feels like treasure that you want to like just protect and love and cherish to yourself is something that is a gift to you and the intimate people in your life that get to experience that with you. So
Yeah, I love that. Okay, don't let me
back to
hijack the
tattoos.
rest of your tattoo walking through. But
So then we have the sun and the moon. masculine and feminine, the alpha and omega, the beginning and the end, Gemini because I'm a Gemini, and then the stars.
Oh, that's why you guys are so tight.
There's the Gemini
Gemini.
thing.
That explains a lot.
That makes so much sense. That makes so
What's
much
your birthday?
sense.
June 15th.
She's June 19th.
On the 19th. Yeah, so we're real close.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love my birthday because it's smack dab in the middle of the year.
I just got more scared about your relationship. I don't know why. Like,
Chris
yeah.
is like, I need to supervise you
the
too.
good thing is
I need to
that
supervise you.
the way I was described, or the way that it was explained to me, was that there are evolved versions of each
Yeah, of course.
sign, right?
Right.
So, not that we're ever finished, but like, you take a Gemini that's like done no work at all. That's a very different experience than a Gemini that's in her process doing her work.
100%.
Right.
So I think had we met, 20 years ago, sure, we would have lit some buildings on fire.
Some buildings on fire, and we would have loved every
been so
second
much
of
fun.
it, and it would have been epic. Yeah.
And I would have bailed you both out.
And I know. We
You
would
know,
have
I'm
called
here
for
for you.
bail money. Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Like the
Yeah.
time I tore down the interior wall in the house that we were renting. Not advised. Well,
Not a
we
joke.
were in a lease to own, so I was technically going to buy it, and I was on the
Okay.
path to buying it, and the wall really bothered me, and it just broke the flow of the living room, and I blocked all the light.
Took a sledgehammer
And
to
so
a
one
wall.
day I was like, I'm not waiting for anything. We're going to buy this. So I took a sledgehammer.
I respect this.
I got safety goggles. I did get safety goggles.
Okay.
Just for those, don't give me crap about that. I did it safely. And I took that fucking wall down.
I respect that. So
And-
how good did that feel, by
Thank
the way?
you. It was so cathartic.
Can I say we
and
had
satisfying.
to rebuild the wall?
Not only did we reel the ball, this was a call to Daddy to come and save me, because we realized after I had torn down the sheetrock on both sides, it was load bearing. So for those that don't know anything about construction, that's what holds shit up, right?
my
Like you're not
gosh.
supposed to take those walls out. And here I was just like sledgehammering, and it was all of my angst and my aggression and my feminine, like my fierce warrior was like, I can do this and no one can tell me I can, and all the things. And then that face. And then the end of the day, it was a call to Daddy going, Dad, can you help me? I think we need to put this wall back up.
my gosh.
And I know how to tear things down, but I don't know how to build them so well. Like, can you please help me? And yeah, so there's that. That's what a Gemini unleashed can look like.
Oh, I remember my first time with a sledgehammer to a wall, and it was the best feeling ever. That's why I asked you how it felt. I was in high school. It
Incredible.
was me and my brother. We went to go help with the hurricane recovery in Louisiana. So we were tearing down houses. We were supposed to tear the wall down.
Oh, right.
Katrina.
right. Oh, you're so much better than me.
Katrina.
Whatever. And it was in the act of service to the goodness of humanity. Okay, 1
Wait,
point
you're
for
so
you.
right.
1 point for you.
I look like such a dick right now.
You're so right. I am so much better. No.
You really are.
Right. That makes me
I'm
look like such a
teasing
dick.
you but you actually are right. Like I was just being a jackass. No, I'm
We
so
had this
having fun with
moment,
you.
my brother and I, where the whole group's there. We're in
Yes.
a room alone. We just look at each other and we just demolish this wall. And the group leaders, who are like group leaders from church, come in.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
look at us
Yeah.
and they were like, "Are you guys okay?" And we're like, "Not really," but that felt really
was
good.
amazing.
We needed that. Our hearts needed that.
It's like the cheapest therapy ever.
It is. They
Yeah.
make rooms for that now. You know that, right?
Yeah, the rage rooms.
The rage rooms.
Where you
Yeah,
just
that's
break
like
shit.
crazy. Have
Yeah.
you done one?
I haven't, but I would love to. If you guys
Yeah,
have
it'd be
done.
kind of cool.
I was thinking like Habitat for Humanity vibe that you were doing, where you go and actually, help, and it does something.
Produce and
But
serve.
yeah, it's serving and producing.
I mean,
and stuff.
there's that.
But there's
That's
that whole
true.
volunteer
You
process.
just need to blow some steam off
Sometimes you just
though.
need to, right.
I don't want to be an
You just
asshole
need
though.
a pressure release valve
Yeah.
in
Just
in
for a
some
second.
ways, just for a moment.
All right,
good.
so let's go be assholes and
Maybe.
like break
Done.
some stuff.
Done.
Yeah, that'd be
break
fun.
some shit.
Let's see how much rage we still have in us. Like as we're in all of this talk about
goodness.
spirituality,
Oh.
right? Like my kids would tell you how imperfect I am, and my family would. When you start to feel enlightened, go spend time with family. Right. That's I think that's either a Gandhi. It's not mine. It's not my magic. It's a Gandhi or a Buddha quote, and someone fact check me on it or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's just when we start to be like, oh, we're doing this. We're really on the path. And then like how much rage do you actually still have in you is an enlightening concept. It comes out and it leaks out in certain ways if you don't let it out. Yeah, if you don't let it out.
So
And then can I finish the tattoo?
go
What's there looks like on the other hand, on your arm, on your wrist, something in cursive. Are you willing to share that? And no is an
evolve.
okay answer.
It says evolve.
Okay.
And then this other one is freedom feather. It's an eagle feather from my friend Josh that passed away. And then this one's the dark night of the soul, Saturn returns.
Oh, the Saturn return.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Were you in the 28-ish range of your Saturn return?
A little bit older.
A little bit older.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a totally divergent conversation that we could get into about Saturn returns, but listeners could definitely look that up. And there's fascination in a complete upheaval in your life that generally happens around, I think it's 28 to 32, somewhere in that range. Like every 28 years, there's going to be a massive upheaval in your life. And this is from the energetics that are far beyond my ability to describe them adequately. But a Google search on a Saturn return. I remember a wise friend of mine told me when I was entering that phase, she was like, honey, just to warn you, buckle up, buttercup. Yeah, it was one of those. And I was like, everything is fine. And this is, I got sober at 28, which means the precipice to getting sober, like, was the blowing of my entire life up. And she predicted it by saying, you're entering your Saturn return, just to let you know. And your life in a few years might not look at all like what it looks like right now, even though you have no intention for that. And I was like, thank you, strange friend. Yeah. Like, thank you for that advice I didn't need or I don't know what to do with. And then looking back, that's when the transformation completely happened for me. The first one. Yeah.
Right.
So,
and
yours was obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that was after the abusive relationship where I went on my really deep healing journey and finally created that deep loving relationship with myself where you even breathe and disrespect around me and you are out.
Yes.
And my standards and my boundaries are just night and day different now because I treat myself with such love, care, respect, and reverence that's what I demand and expect out of all relationships around me. So if you're not able to be at that standard, then you don't have a place in my sphere.
And that's what that tattoo reminds you. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Well, guys, what else is left to be
I think
uncovered in this conversation?
Yeah, I would just so the whole theme is heal, grow, thrive, right? So what would you be able to say just to embody your journey in that process, and just to the fact that it's a kind of a never ending loop, if you will, right?
Yeah. To embody the process in this moment, something that I'd love to just share is that I've had, especially in, 11 years of being an entrepreneur, had lots of ups and downs and all sorts of things. And it's just very humbling. I'm eating the biggest piece of humble pie that I've ever had in my life at the moment because I'm at a place of not thriving. And I'm at a place of, after being at a place of thriving for so many years, I'm at a place that just feels like you mentioned, the pruning season. And I feel like I'm at the end of the pruning season. I really do. But it's at the end where I'm at that ledge of what you talked about of okay, I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of trust. I believe. But I have a line, and I'm at the line. Literally last night I said that.
That's crazy.
Wow. So to embody the process fully, and I'm aware, I know who and what I came here to be. Even my higher self came through earlier and shared that. I know that that's where I end up. I know that that's where I'm going. But where I'm at right now is so viscerally different from that I am having to moment by moment surrender further and trust. And just trust.
Yeah.
That I'm going to go through that next season back into the thriving. And I know that's where I end up, but it's just, it's really hard from a human perspective. It's really hard to walk that out on a daily basis when that season of the, just the learning is continuing so much longer than you thought it would.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So I'm in a difficult part of my phase right now, but I know the truth. I know I'm divinely guided and supported. I know it's happening for me. I know I'm being pruned. I know. But in the moment, that's where I'm at.
I so honor your integrity and your vulnerability in that. I feel like the less aware versions of ourselves would be maybe, and I don't want to project this on you, but I know for me, I would have canceled the podcast. Potentially, right? If I don't show up as my best self and project how amazing everything is in my life and show up with all of the wisdom and I have to feel good and I have to look good and I have to do all the things right, I'm not going to show up at all.
I'll be honest, I had a thought pop up like that. And I'm not one to ever execute on that, meaning I don't like follow through with my actions. But the thought arose of like, this would be a better podcast if I was already at the thriving stage again. And then I thought about what resonates with me the most and what helps me the most. And even recently, I've seen a lot of podcasts where incredible entrepreneurs talk about how they lost it all, not once, but twice, sometimes 3 times.
Yeah.
And yet when they're sharing, it's typically from a place of like, they've got it all together. And then I had that thought for myself. I was like, how powerful could it be to show up when I don't have it figured out yet, when I'm not at the place of thriving yet? And I actually share, I'm at one of those places right now. Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk says, document, don't produce.
So good.
Right? And so I think what's beautiful about what you're doing, is first of all, if people go to your Instagram channel and just watch your old content and they don't, like, at a very surface level, they'd be like, oh, this chick's got it figured out. Right?
Yeah.
She's thriving and I want her life and, like all that stuff. And so I think you sharing this message and doing that, there's a lot of responsibility, because I think there's a lot of danger in people on social media, that comparison-itis, where people feel less than because of what they see on Facebook, and they don't see behind the scenes. They don't realize that we all have 60-second snapshots every day that maybe are Instagram reel worthy, whether you make them or not into a reel. But what's happening the other 23 hours and 59 minutes in the day, and how are you showing up there? So I think that you getting vulnerable, and I love it. And I think that's why we were called and you were meant to be the first guest, because there's so much alignment, because that's what we feel called to in this, is sharing that in our imperfection, in our own growth, and to just document life. And I think the power of you documenting that journey, and I'm just getting this download for you, is like, document, don't produce. Don't worry about making an overly produced, piece of content and trying to cultivate all that. Is just document your journey and just keep your spirit in it and authenticity in it. And that's going to take everything you've done, which has been far more than most people could hope for in a lot of situations, and, 100x it.
Thank you. I receive that.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm feeling from it too is like, this is an opportunity to share how, particularly, I mean, it's all community can do this, but particularly the woman tribe. You don't need a primary relationship to do this, right? Like, this is the practice I'm going to share is one that we would often love to do in our primary partner relationship, and it's not necessary. And having a woman tribe, or for you guys, have your guy tribe, so that regardless of who else is in or out of your life, like your tribe is going to be there for you. The power of setting out and speaking and writing out what your vision of your next thrive season feels like, looks like, maybe, if you can see it, but most definitely feels like, and allowing someone like me, your mastermind of women friends, to hold that for you until you can see it again.
Wow.
Because we all forget. We all have these moments. And so if you gifted something so beautiful to me as, hey, it's really hard for me to like envision this right now, and I don't even know what's next, but like, if I were to imagine what my life will feel like and look like a year from now, maybe you can get it out. You can't do it all day. You can't like be in it like when you're in your like most amazing, happy, positive, vibrating self. That's like an all day thing that we can just be in that vision, and we're attracting stuff like this. But what if you just got it out for like a minute and then jotted it and sent it to a friend, or WhatsApp messaged it and said, can you hold this vision with me?
Wow.
While I'm in we're all in different seasons, and thank God we're not all in the same season at the same time. I can hold that for you until you are able to see the light again.
Wow.
And you can take it back. But I will safeguard that for you.
Wow.
And as my friend and my new sister, I feel like, and I don't say that lightly, but I felt that connection with you from the beginning. I would be so honored to receive that. You don't need to say it out loud. I'm not going to like put you on the spot for it, but I would be really honored to hold that for you if you'd be open to that.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's wild. I've had my own journey of being open to help being open to support. I briefly mentioned I've been on my own since I was 16.
Yeah.
And went through a bit of survival and always doing things on my own. And even right now today, it's like, you know, the weight's on my shoulders. However, I really believe that the divine sends us what we need, the support that we need, the community that we need. And I am finding it in like my women's mastermind last night, where my girls literally gave me a group hug and we just cried. Yeah. You know, and even this right now, you're offering to hold that with me. Yes. And it's interesting when I look around at my life, it is so abundant in so many ways. Yeah. And when I look internally, it is so abundant in so many ways. And so I do feel that I'm right on the cusp of things progressing and changing into a different season. But yeah, I just want to thank you for that, because I think being open and receptive to the people that are around you that do love you and support you, it's sometimes hard for someone that's been so independent. And I've had to do a series of softening into that and being open to it and welcoming it and just saying yes.
Yeah.
You know,
So. And is there something else that, like, so from the receiver, is there something else that we could do who want to support and give you love? Do you have any instructions for, like, here's how I would want to be held here as someone who's like usually in rejection of that?
I think it's just recognizing that it's not that we don't want the help or that we are rejecting you. Like I even hear my friends' voices in my head, some people that have really tried.
Yeah.
But it's like there's this, it's almost like this little girl inside that says, is that okay? Is that okay to accept that help? Whether it's an emotional thing or a physical thing, like, is it okay? Or like, is there something attached? Does this mean that I owe them? You know, there's all sorts of like woundings inside. And also, if I allow them to help me and I'm dependent on them and then they leave, then I won't have that, and then I'll feel the pain of them missing. Like there's a lot of layers that go into.
That's what all comes up. Okay.
There's a lot of layers to it, you know, based on everyone's life experience. But it just understand that they deeply want the help. It's just really hard to actually accept it, and it's a practice. That's literally how I describe it. So if you're someone that really struggles with receiving help, recognize that's a pattern and it's not serving you, and there are people that love you and want to help you, and challenge yourself with just saying yes. And it's so uncomfortable when you start doing it. Yeah. But the more that you do it, the more comfortable it is. So for me to just say, yes, I would love that, it's a very evolved version of me compared to how I used to show up, you know, for like, thank you, I'm okay. Right. Or like, I've got it.
Right. A few thoughts come to mind. One, there are no strings attached, which is a fascinating idea.
I know with you, there aren't.
Yeah. Well, and you just you got to find those people, and you only do that with people that you actually feel that way. Like, and something was, I learned at one point, for those who don't love to accept help, don't deprive the giver of the gift the opportunity to be in their blessing of giftedness. And I learned that when I was having babies, and I like was, you know, couldn't do anything, couldn't feed, couldn't stand up, and all of these women were like, let me make you casseroles, let me make you this, and I was like, I'm not dead, like I'm not broken, like I should be able to do this. Wow. And someone said to me, and she said it point blank, it was one of those like women, you know, like the wise old women who just cut through you. And she held my hand, and she was one who was delivering a casserole, like it was the old church days, you know? And she goes, Hannah, don't rob me of the blessing of being able to serve you. Accept the casserole. And it was the metaphor, obviously. So there's so much in there for us as the doers, the go-getters, that I can do this on my own. Like, I'm afraid of what the strings attached are going to be. At the same time, like, allow them the blessing of gifting into us and pouring into us. And the other thought that came to my mind was, and I hope this lands okay to you, you know my heart, but like, I'm going to hold an intention for you in your most amazing, happy, joyful, loved and loving and accomplished from the most beautiful, amazing, mind-blowing place that I can imagine for you, whether you want me to or not. So it's your option to fill in the details for me so that I can help manifest the life that you actually want.
Wow.
Because I'm going to hold you up no matter what.
Wow. That's a different kind of friendship. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for receiving that so well, because it was a little aggressive. It's like aggressive. It's like
aggressive?
aggressively loving. Did that feel aggressive? I was
Didn't
like,
feel aggressive
but I
for
do.
me.
I
Felt
find
passionate.
myself like you come to me sometimes, and I'm
She's not
just,
kidding. I'm like, it's a little weird, you guys.
it's
like,
a little
haven't spent
weird. Like
any
we
time
haven't
together,
even
but
been like
I mean, hey,
for years. Like it's not this long-term relationship. We
Yeah.
don't talk that often, but I just feel like you're here in my orbit for all of these beautiful reasons that we're now fleshing out. And I was like selfish, right? I was never one to give. I was never the giver.
Really?
I was always the
wasn't.
taker,
Oh, I don't see that at all.
which is interesting.
Well, this is the new Hannah.
This is the new Hannah. And so it truly, I guess that would help with the story, with the context. I'm not always this like, oh, let me serve, let me give. Like I've never been that person. I've been like, oh, what can I get from that person and that person and that. And that's a manipulative addict way of being in the world. And so truly it's transformative for me to even offer to serve, for one, from a depth of actually really meaning it, and then being received and like actually making a difference in someone's life. It's a gift.
And she wouldn't do it for just anybody.
No, I wouldn't. And I don't.
Like that's the bottom line. It's
No, I
like,
don't. Wow.
There's
I feel a deep resonance with you. Even when we started our audio messages on WhatsApp, I'm just like, how did this woman just come into my life? Like, you literally felt like this angel that God was just like, there you go, you need that. It felt like that just got dropped in, because here I am listening to you, and it's so funny. And I know that you know, but she'll be like going off this rant of like pure wisdom and gold, and she's like, but I don't know,
what,
you know,
like her 12-minute WhatsApp voice messages.
Yeah.
Voice memos?
Wisdom
like-
and gold, y'all. It's rambling and
No,
shenanigans.
it's so good.
It's rambling and shenanigans as I'm processing. Here's what's happening, and here's how I'm trying to think through it, and here's all of the ways that my mind wants to go, which is the self-limiting, the belief. Here's where I would like to be, and then at some point I wake up and I go, "Oh, girl, I'm so sorry. I just took like 13 minutes of your
I
time."
do the same thing though. I do the same
I don't
thing
know
back.
what just happened. And then I love it. Yeah. And I felt peace in myself in the okayness of that when you were like, I'm getting ready in the morning. I'm brushing my teeth and I'm putting you on speakerphone.
Yeah, I have
And
you
we're just
there.
like
I'm doing my
jamming. We're like
thing.
getting ready. Yeah. But so, yeah. And it's not an all the time gift, but it really is it's transformative for me because my identity was as a manipulative, self-centered son of a gun.
Wow.
So you're allowing me, like you mentioned earlier, to look at the evidence
Yeah.
of the fact that I actually might not be as much of an asshole as the hardwiring
I
tells
don't even
me.
like that language that you use. Might not be an asshole. You're not. You are literally the brightest light. You're such a bright light. You're such a gift. You're so full of wisdom. Whatever old identity that is, you lived your life being for so long, you need to like burn a piece of paper and watch it burn and say your goodbyes.
Right.
It's literally not who you are anymore. I've never known you to be that.
Thank you. My 13-year-old daughter may have a different,
Sure.
an additional input to that.
I'm sure people that
I
have
so
seen
received that from
multiple
you.
iterations of you
Yeah.
would, and that's
Yeah.
normal, and that there's something beautiful about them seeing that as well. But I
Right.
think people come into our lives to reflect where we currently are at.
Yeah.
So being able to reflect that to you, I think, is something that you can receive.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Sometimes it feels like the bar is just not being an asshole today is a really good thing. Like that's the best I can manage. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm really okay with that. In some days I want the bar to be a little higher.
Yeah.
But really we're so, those of us that are doing so much personal work constantly to be growing and developing and like heal and then grow and then thrive and then heal and then grow. And then, there's also this moment when we can just be like, if I'm not an asshole today, I'm winning. Like I want to celebrate these, like the wins too, you know?
That's so good.
And therefore and I'm not doing it from a self-deprecating like place. It's from a place of like, if the bar is low, I can actually celebrate me. You know what I mean? And this is cool. Like it's fun to actually.
so cute.
Well, and it lightens it because you
it
have a
lightens it.
tendency of making
Yeah.
everything and
Yeah.
making life really heavy. And that just lightens everything for you.
Right. Like
That's great.
Winning.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
a prick to you today. I didn't say anything that was like cutting or accidentally assholey or too invasive of a question. Then you had to be like, whoa, back out of my business. Like if I didn't do any of that in a day,
Yeah.
yes.
I have a friend that's really good about like looking back and seeing their own progress, even throughout the year.
Really?
Sometimes I just like literally forget all the things that I do. I don't forget, but I just don't take time
the same way.
to sit and reflect. And so then sometimes he'll say like, he just lists off all these things that I've done this year. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a lot. I kind of forgot about that completely. I'm just here today and I didn't produce for today and I didn't win today.
Right.
And I'm feeling this way, but you forget that like
Yep.
you had so many good days or so much progress or that over the couple of years that you've grown so much. Because I think there is a trap in the like personal development spiritual world where you are working on yourself so much that nothing's ever good enough, or that, you know, you're never good enough because you need to reach that next evolution of self that is just, you know, Mother Mary, which is just also not reality. So I think it's taking that out of it and allowing yourself the humanness to like be a human and also have some off days in between, and you know, not always have to be like you said, like hitting like the highest mark.
Right. Yeah. And everybody needs a friend like that. Like, can I borrow him?
Oh yeah.
Is he available? Does he have
He's
other friendship
amazing.
slots that are open?
He's
where
amazing.
like, because I forget that the wins too.
I can do that for you.
But, oh, you'll do that for me? That's brilliant.
I got you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, so
And you as well. You're included.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
here.
want you to feel like I'm
we
very
have
real
our
by any
WhatsApp
means.
group going now. So,
Oh, that's
hey,
true.
We're good.
That's
we're good.
right. We made it a trio. It's now
you
a
go.
three-legged
Hey.
stool.
Yeah.
So
You guys can still have your own group. It's
Oh, we
all
will.
good. I don't-
we
I don't, I
will.
don't
Don't
need
worry.
to be involved in everything. Don't worry.
Don't have to tell us that.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I mean, no, it's just us three.
It's just,
Yes,
no,
just
yeah,
us
yeah.
three. Well, how did we ever survive?
Yeah,
without you
exactly.
before
I
you?
know. That's.
But Chris
I
did
question.
introduce us actually, and it was
know.
your burgeoning friendship.
Yeah.
That and I at first was actually a little intimidated by you.
Yeah.
Because I just like, and someone whispered to me like, "Oh, do you know who she?" Like we met at a dinner party.
Yeah.
What was it, 2 years ago?
In Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Arizona, and it was
Probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
I think it was 3.
a friend of
three.
mine from 3 years. Okay, a friend of mine from the recovery space. Then was a friend that you were staying with, I think, and you were in town for that. And it ended up that like we all decided, and it was like, wait, what are you doing today? We all ended up at dinner, and I'm looking around the table, and it was all of you freaking influencers.
Yeah, I hate that word.
Sorry for that. What do you prefer?
Oh no, use it. I'm not
It's a thing,
offended.
right? I mean, it's like,
I don't get offended very easily.
but and you were people to me, like you were humans. And then somebody turns and whispers to me, like, "Oh my God, do you know who she is?" The woman that I was sitting next to, which was you. And I was like, "Yeah, she's Emily. Like, she's cool."
Yeah.
You know. And she was like, "Yeah. Do you know who she is?"
It's so
and
interesting.
isn't that
people
weird?
perceive it that way.
Right,
know.
because
I
of
know.
your number of followers.
interesting.
Like the number of the digits that you have, like that is supposed to make someone put you on a pedestal and worship you, right? And I don't align with
Big
that.
mistake.
I don't align with that because I've had that happen with me. Like when I held the national title that I was blessed to be able to hold, like I had girls coming up and being like, "I just want to be like you." And I was like, no, you don't. You
Yeah.
really don't. You want to be like you. And like, and I would like sit on the floor at an event and just start to like get to know someone because it was really important. I would take the crown off and I would take the sash off immediately. I'd be like, "I am so just like you, sister." Like, whoa, it does dispel that bullshit right from the beginning.
good.
So important to do. But I had a moment, even in that, like I've been the
Yeah.
one on that side.
Yeah.
I don't have a social media following. Like at this moment, I'm kind of ready for that now with your guidance because I don't like being criticized. And I know that I will the bigger that I show up.
We'll talk about that off
And I don't like being judged. Yeah, I don't like not making people happy, right? So when I start to get negative feedback about these things, it's going to be interesting. And I'm ready for them. And it's okay because it's in higher service to people who need to hear messages like the brilliance that you shared to people who are struggling. And yet I still felt like that. I wasn't Twitter-pated meeting you until someone whispered that to me. And it was almost like you're supposed to shut down and be smaller then because she's bigger than you, is how I interpreted it, right? And I told you that on the way home. And then you guys just had this instant connection. And I was like, I really want to talk to her. I really want to engage with her. But I would notice that my palms would start to get sweaty. And I was witnessing
thinking
this.
of Eminem in my head. Sorry.
Is that
Palms
who?
sweaty.
That's yes. I used to do hill sprints to that song.
Stop.
Yeah, 7 Mile, right? You're referring to the Eminem song.
Yeah, lose yourself.
Lose
Lose
yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah, lose yourself.
Yeah.
And the palms are sweaty. But so I noticed that. And I remember saying to Chris, like, I really feel like I want to build connection with this woman, but it's interesting to me. And I'm observing from this place of like, wow, I'm a little like, I'm having a little,
You were wildly intimidated.
I'm like fangirling, even though I didn't know you. And and it was weird. And I didn't know what to
She
do
goes
with it.
deeper though. Like, do you mind if I like
Jump
get
in.
real? Like,
Yeah,
so
jump in.
when it happened, I remember like she like was just like, I feel called, but like I also, she was saying kind of intimidated and kind of threatened because you were like, She said this to me in our car ride home.
Remind me,
Like,
I forget shit.
and
I
she
don't
was
even know what I
literally
said.
like,
I don't know what I
if
said.
I died, you'd marry her, is what she said.
Oh.
Remember when you said
might have
that?
been it.
Like, she literally said that to me in the car, and I'm like, why are we even talking about this? You
Yeah,
know?
it didn't
Like,
hit your radar.
if that's
but,
the case, like, you guys should just get super tight. You
but
know,
that was
like,
an
because-
incredible compliment to you. You know,
And I receive that and I understand that. And I also understand that this is often a dynamic that I run into.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting. I always try to do my best to show up from a place of authenticity to allow whoever it is in my life to like really see me, because I understand that that's the surface level perception.
Yeah.
And it's really important for me to always show, especially if it's like a partnership, to show the partner that like I am a safe space. I respect the sanctity of partnership more than anything. So in my own space, I literally, there's like a certain wall that I put up, not in a place of like to create disconnection, but like a healthy boundary in my mind and my energetic realm where like it doesn't even go there for me. It's not someone in a relationship is not attractive to me at all.
that's beautiful.
Well, that's just tied to your own self-worth and values and
Right.
your own boundaries.
Right.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why, but like it's not attractive to me at all. And also, I just, you got to remember, I'm someone who has a certain level of like foundational truths on things. And I really believe that we all came here for a certain purpose. I mean, I have had experiences where I don't know if you guys are into past lives at all, but I'm pretty sure, like, I know that I've met someone who we've shared a past life together with.
Cool.
And this person is in a long-term partnership. And I told him, I will always support the life that you choose. And I will always respect it and honor it and cherish it, you and your family and everything.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, as a human, you could have the other end of that of like, oh, maybe that means something. Maybe that means that we're meant to be together and we should pursue this. It's like, no, this is the life that you chose. And this is a life that you need to commit to and to show up for. And so for me, I just see things a little bit differently. And yeah, maybe that's off on a little bit of a tangent. I guess my purpose for sharing that was that I have such a deep just honor and respect and reverence for partnership and for the lives that people have chosen, regardless of anything else. And that always comes first to me.
What a beautiful example of that. And just for clarity, I never got anything.
Yeah.
Like, there was none of that weird.
Yeah, no,
it
it wasn't
wasn't even
weird.
in that way that like I was threatened that would happen while we were living. No. But it was
No, it was more of just, it was like
Just if
literally
you-
more of
yeah.
a compliment to you of like her being like, that is like
that is your next level.
her
like,
respect
that-
for me. And she
Yeah.
instantly put you in that category.
Right. Like if I were to pass away, like you would be the archetype of the ideal person that I would want my beloved to be with. And that just, it was fascinating. It was fascinating to watch me like, but then that built a wall too. And at one point I was probably, if I go back and listen to my first WhatsApp message to you, I probably could hear fluttering in my voice. Like I probably could hear that I was nervous.
I love you so much for talking about this. I think this is such a normal dynamic within female relationships.
Yeah.
And especially female relationships that are with a partner. And even if like I had another partner here, I think it's such a normal thing that we experience. And even in my own way, I've noticed and been self-aware to like little things that may arise in me with other women before. And I think the more that women can talk openly about this, the better it is, because one, it lets you know that you're not crazy and you're not alone, and that it's a part of like the normal, especially female psyche that we go through, and that it's okay, and it actually creates deeper connection to actually have it just out in the open and talk about it. So I just really respect you for being able to talk about this in general.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I dig it with you too. And it's neat. And it also just, it reminds me, feel the fear and do it anyway. And if you feel a nudge towards someone, life is short. Like you said, tomorrow's not promised. Lean in. Lean in. Even if it feels like, well, that person, and I guess this feels like a message to anyone who's listening, again, who is like, maybe they're needing help, or maybe they're needing help getting to the next level. They're helping to heal or helping to thrive or to grow or helping to thrive. Like, if there's this call to a person who could be in your life and you feel intimidated by them, you feel not enough by them, give them the opportunity.
So good.
Like, this is my own medicine that I was sharing with you. I need to drink it.
Wow.
Give you the opportunity to actually pour into me in some way, or touch like my I'm enoughness, because I'm deserving of a friendship of a woman of your caliber. And
I'm so honored that you feel that about me. Thank you so much. And I see that in you as well. Like from the get-go, I remember, and you're like, this is my wife. I'm like, what? It's literally the definition of trophy wife.
what?
Really?
That's
like,
crazy.
You're so incredible. And I really just value the fact that you're able to see goodness, even if it brings some sort of like initial thoughts and feelings, maybe insecurity, whatever it is, and say, okay, I'm going to feel it. And I'm actually going to put myself in that environment anyways and find out for myself. Yeah. The truth is, I could be a horrible homewrecker person. And there are people out there that are like that.
Oh, absolutely.
There really are women out there that are like that. And it's funny because even as you're mentioning this, it's like I have experienced this dynamic quite often. And sometimes people are, they discard me or they're like super rude to me or whatever. And I definitely see myself out in those kinds of situations. Yeah. But I always think internally to myself, I'm like, they have no idea. I would be their best friend. They have no idea. I would champion their relationship. I would help them heal, help them grow. Like I'm the best friend and they have no idea because they can't see beyond the surface level.
Yeah.
It's really their own fear.
It's their
own.
Insecurity. They see you as a threat instead of as a potential advocate.
Yeah.
Right. But that shifts and changes as we start to be okay enough in our own skin. And okay enough is the baseline, that vibrating pure love, like the ocean surrounding you that you described. That's next level. That's the goal. The goal.
Well, and two, just trusting your own discernment. Like I said, there's people that operate in different ways. This is how I operate. There's a lot of other women that would not operate that way, and that's their own choice. But you get to choose like where you open yourself up to. And if you do open yourself up and find that it's not the right friendship fit, you can make a different decision. Yeah. And you can always leave that situation and you can always create boundaries. Like you're always the one in control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
So
it's bizarre that we have to say that.
Yeah.
But it's so important to say that. That sense of agency that we have, like, I don't know. And maybe this is a girl thing. Maybe it's a how we grew up thing, but I don't naturally find that I have a sense of agency, which is my own decision making, my own autonomy to make my decisions like that. Like, oh, that didn't work for me. I'm going to choose to do something differently. I'm waiting for the externals to change, or someone wiser than me, or someone older than me, or someone further down the path, or more successful than me, the paid mentor, the paid guru, the paid coach, the paid whatever, to then tell me where the right place to go is, or like say, it's okay for you to step out of this relationship and move into the next one. Like still waiting for permission. And that's the gift. That's the juice, is when you begin to give yourself permission and that agency. Like this isn't permanent. No decision is a forever. You just, and in business, like you gather data, and then that data informs an analysis of what's best moving forward. It's not where did you come from? How far are you from where you were 2 years ago? From where we are right now, it's like a GPS system. There's so many metaphors for it. For the GPS system, it doesn't matter how far we've come or how many accidents we had behind us. Like from here, where are we going forward? And you make a different decision every step of the way. But we have the autonomy to do that. We don't need external. And I'm saying this out loud to also tell myself. You can hear this.
You're just audible self-talk.
Audible self-talk. I'm talking, and I see you see that. You're like, Hannah, yep, you go ahead and tell yourself that, girl, because you need to hear it, obviously. And I do, and I still do.
We all do. We all need to be reminded of it too, that we are our own best healer. We are the medicine. We are the guru. We are the teacher. We are all of those things. When you realize that, you stop outsourcing your power to all these other people. You can take what helps. You can be inspired. You can learn. You can grow. And it definitely helps when you feel stuck or can't see something in your blind spot, to speak and to share with others that have amazing wisdom. But it's the little by little moments that you choose to say, I'm going to find out for myself. I remember in 2022, when I went on my healing journey, I gave myself the permission to FA and FO. You guys know what that means?
No.
Fuck around and find out. And that allowed me to make all my own decisions and learn, and to literally gather the data, say, yep, not that way. Got it. Right. Let's go this way. Yes, this way works. This way I'm more healed. I'm more loving. I'm more this, right? Yeah. This was a lot of fun and worth it. This was not worth it. Right. Just the permission to FA and FO. I'm going to trust this person. I'm going to make this investment. I made investments. They did not go well. I learned.
You learned.
Really
strongly.
Yes.
That's how you learn.
but without shame.
Yeah.
Without self like whipping.
Yeah.
That
Again, it's
I'm bad because I made this mistake. I am a mistake because I made this mistake. I'm bad because I did a bad thing. Like I'm wrong because all of that. Like taking in that moment, this wasn't a decision that fulfills my next steps, my highest calling, but without making that wrong, making me wrong in the process.
But it was because you learned that.
Yeah.
And you may not have been able to learn it without making that decision.
Right.
Education.
So like
So it was in a way,
yeah,
even
it
that thing that
was.
felt like shit, it still was in your
Yes.
highest
It was
calling.
actually important data that you
Right.
needed.
Yeah.
And it's also just that perspective of we are souls that came to this earth school to learn. So you're always learning.
Yeah.
You're always growing. You'll continue to repeat the same lessons until you actually get it.
Right.
So even if you repeat a lesson, there's no shame. It's what am I not seeing? What am I not getting? How have I not fully learned this? Or how am I not showing up as the fullest, most authentic version of me? Because maybe I'm showing up in a lazy, unconscious, unaligned version of me, and in which case then, shape up your actions, get yourself into alignment, get yourself into that high vibrational state, because that version of you acts in alignment. That version of you shows up for themselves, sets the boundaries, communicates clearly, right? So there's a lot of power even in our own decisions of how we show up to every single day. That's why I do have those non-negotiables, kind of going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like we could go all day.
We could.
But so, all right. So in wrapping this up,
I think we
Maybe
said
we'll
that
do it
30
again.
minutes ago.
yeah, no. Talk
did.
to
We
me.
tried.
talk
We
to
tried.
me.
We put in a
Just
solid effort
really,
for wrapping
really
it up.
briefly, tell me what's next for you? Like, what publicly?
Wish I knew.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Publicly,
cool.
like what are you working on that you're excited
She's at the
about?
edge
Like
of air. Is that where you
Yeah.
are?
So what are you excited and scared to death about?
Yeah.
I'm scared to death.
Well,
I don't know that I believe that in that fully anymore.
Sure,
But what am I
sure.
feeling a lot of fear towards right now?
Yeah.
Is the fact that I feel like I'm stepping on air and I can't see the next step and I don't have the answers for you.
Okay.
And I don't have this perfect plan.
Perfect.
So that's what feels scary, is the fact that I'm in this place where I don't have the answers. I don't have the way out. And it feels like, how is this going to work out? All of those questions are arising almost back to like the beginning of my journey in general. Again, it's that loop. And I'm at this like other point in that loop. And then what am I most excited about is to see how in the hell it works out.
Yeah,
To be
that's
surprised
awesome.
by the divine of like,
Yes.
oh, that was going to happen the whole time. On a Tuesday, I was going to get that phone call and then this was going to happen. And now I see all of it. But on a Thursday before that, I was literally crying my eyes out saying, how is this all going to happen? So my excitement is in being surprised by the divine plan and knowing that it was literally planned and orchestrated the entire time.
Thank you for being such an awesome model of that, because I think this goes back to like what we were talking about. A lot of the conversations, people are going to look at you and be like, of course she's successful, she's got it all figured out and whatever, and they don't realize that it's your mindset and your heart and how you show up every day and how you're willing to just be real and authentic and struggle and like just step into air, and do it. And it goes back to what we were talking about. You're surrendering to having faith that you are meant to do something, and you don't need to know exactly what that is. It's more, my guess is, even though you didn't say this exactly, but my guess is you have a feeling that you can't put words to yet. And that'll actualize, like the right people will come into your life at the right time, the right situations will happen, and it's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe
Be
we
in
can
your-
do a
be in your sphere.
podcast like a year from now.
Yeah.
And see where I'm at. Do a little
Let's do it.
check-in.
Yes.
I
So
love
we
it.
can like take the viewers on the journey.
Yeah,
It'll be an
that'll
anniversary
amazing.
podcast.
Yeah. How incredible will that be?
That's
That'll
a
be
really
amazing.
cool way of mapping growth,
Yeah,
actually. I don't know if
love
anyone
that.
else is doing that. You just started a thing. You may have just started a thing.
It might be a thing.
Like yearly check-ins, and then we'll be able to look back and and we'll never be hotter than we are today.
That is not true.
Oh,
That is literally a lie.
because
Wow,
you're
I
going back.
love it. I
your
love it.
confidence
Yeah,
is
and you know
freaking
what?
killer.
You're so right, because she looks better now than she did when she was 28.
100%.
That's true, and I actually do. I do align with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're raising your energy and
Yeah.
your vibration and your
Yeah.
frequency every single day.
100%.
And as you're doing
Yeah.
that, your body at a cellular level is literally repairing itself every single day.
Right.
And the most beautiful thing about any woman or man in general is the inner radiance from within. And as you heal and grow, that radiance gets stronger and brighter. So you have not even been, you are the most beautiful version of yourself right now, but it doesn't compare to what you'll look like and feel like and be like, and your essence will be a year from now.
In the future. Thank you for that correction.
You're welcome.
That's one of those sort of unconscious things that we repeat that society
100%.
says all the time.
100%.
Let's take a selfie. Why? Because we're never going to be hotter than we are now, right? That's like, jump in, everybody. And because when we're 80, we're going to want to look back and remember this moment. But yeah, thank you for the conscious awareness of the words that aren't even necessarily true. They're fun,
I have
but
friends,
they're not true.
I have friends do that for me all the time,
Yeah.
even last night. So I'm not perfect
Yeah.
and I don't always speak like that. I had corrections last night, but I seek to, when I see
Yeah.
it, I seek to do that for the people I love as well.
Yeah.
And the people I don't love, but
Kidding.
Always
Whether they
received as
like it
well.
or not.
Whether they like it or not,
That's
here
awesome.
it comes.
So
Yes.
where do people find you? You're on Instagram, Emily Hayden.
yes, so you can also search Evolve with Emily podcast on
Okay.
any podcast platform as well as YouTube. And those are
Okay.
probably the two best places to get in contact with me.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for
Yeah.
making the time. And we're just so, like I said at the beginning, it's just awesome how it all worked out. You know,
It really is.
She literally months ago was like, Emily's got to be our first guest. And here we are. We just happen to be right down the street from you, basically. Well, down the street, like an hour away.
It wasn't an hour. There was traffic when I searched. It was like 35 minutes. It was really dramatic.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so
I was overly
far.
dramatic.
So far. And then she spent half an hour here, like,
Oh,
ba, ba,
yeah.
ba, ba.
Because we were late as
But it's
usual.
all good.
Oh,
You were
no.
putting your energy up in the place, getting us
Love it.
ready to like show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me a space to share in such an authentic way and not having to feel like I have to have it all together to be here. And I think that who you guys are definitely allowed me to feel good about coming in this kind of place and where I'm at in my life. And this conversation was so beautiful. And so I feel like this was a gift for me. So even if it never went anywhere, thank you. There's so much that's reflected that I can't even express to you right now. It really was such a gift. So thank you guys both.
Gift goes both ways.
Thank you. And I take it as a huge compliment that you were willing to show up in your yuck. Yeah.
Thank you.
And because that means a lot. It really means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Chris, and it means a lot for the example that you're setting for the other high achieving, perfectionistic, put your best face forward people out there that need to know that you can still show up in your dentedness. I don't say brokenness anymore, but I say dentedness because it pops back out, and being willing to do that is a huge compliment. Because it's who I want to be in the world. I want to be a safe place for people to do that. In the same way that woman put the pillow under my head and said, cry it out, sister, when you're ready. And sat with such deep confidence that I would be okay, that she could sit and read a book in my absolute crashing rock bottom meltdown. And it's how I get to pay it forward. So like you reflecting that back to me is it's a big deal. So thank you.
Can I make a comment as we end here? I think coming into this, it was really funny. Hannah was like, it might be 30 or 45 minutes long. This conversation won't go much longer. We're almost 2.5 hours.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
Are you serious?
No way.
I'm just letting you
That's
guys know.
almost as long as the Donald Trump.
This is almost like Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Like,
Wow.
Yeah, they were like
If
3
you're
hours.
still listening,
yeah,
comment down below what your favorite part of today's episode was.
yeah. We'd love
Or
to
what
hear that.
resonated.
Yeah, because we're just launching this, and Emily's our first guest, and it's just one of those things. Like, we want to know what resonated to, like, interview the right people and bring bring the right energy on. I mean, we know what we're standing for and what we're doing, but it's always amazing to know the impact that we're making. Because who knows? I have a hard time believing we're going to wait a year to get you back on the show. That's just for the record. But
Please don't let it be a year.
yeah,
It may look like you would have to come down to the Dominican Republic and
Yeah,
film
you
with
wanna
us
take a trip to the
at
jungle?
the eco
I'm so down.
at the retreat.
Let's
I mean,
go.
like you'd have to really like bend your arm probably to make that happen.
To go
but-
there.
Yeah, to come visit us down there.
Yeah.
But
See if I
that's
can
awesome.
pencil it in.
see if you
All
can
right.
pencil in
Rock
your
and
busy
roll.
schedule. Well, we'd love to have you, and you've got family in the Dominican now.
Thank
so
you.
Just know anytime.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you.
you want to end this thing?
What do I do to end it? What do we do to end it?
Thanks for being here, guys. Like,
Do you have anything special from your successful podcast that you do to heartfully wrap up conversation.
Yeah, if the listeners gained any value out of this, then would you join us in the universal law of reciprocity? And would you pay it forward, being a part of this energetic exchange by simply sharing? Maybe you could post it on your stories, text it to a friend, let someone know about the podcast just as much as it gave you value. Maybe it would give them value. Maybe it's something that they need to hear. And even if it's not coming out of your mouth, you simply sharing it with them allows you to be the messenger, the communicator of that thing that they needed in that moment.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
You
can
wanna
I
take
keep that
script?
clip and like
That
just
was
put it at the end of every one of
Every
my
single
episodes?
one? Yeah, who is this random girl? Oh, just go back to episode 1.
And I'm back to episode 1. We'll be like messages from
Awesome.
Emily.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you're our closing. Bam.
All right.
You're the closer. Emily the closer. I love this.
Well, that's it, guys.
Oh, in the most beautiful way. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Amazing.
Yeah.